Good afternoon, directors. We'll call the November 27th inaugural board meeting to order. And in accordance with your procedure bylaw, proceed straight away to the election of chair. And procedure requires that we take nominations from the floor. And so I would ask at this time if there are any nominations to be made by directors for chair. Director Sinnott.
Yeah, I'll nominate Director Mark Baker for chair.
Thank you very much. Are there any further nominations for chair? Director Davis.
I'll nominate Director Vinesh.
Director Vinesh. Director Vinesh, would you accept that? Thank you. Are there any further nominations for the position of chair? Director Mooney.
I would like to nominate Director Wally for the position of chair.
Director Wally. Director Wally, would you accept that?
Yes, I will.
Thank you. For the last time, any further nominations for the position of chair? Hearing none, we will proceed with the ballot for election. And before we do that, we will allow the candidates, if they wish, to make a short statement in support of their election. And starting with Director Baker, you were nominated first off. Do you have anything that you would like to offer the board?
Just that it's been an honor for me to serve as chair for the last 2 years, and I would love to continue to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Vinesh, would you like to say a few words?
Yes, thank you. I just want to start by thanking Director Baker for holding this position for 2 years, and I know it's not an easy position to hold. I appreciate his leadership. And I think this is a good opportunity for change and for mixing things up. I love this work. I believe deeply in our ability as local government officials to make change for the people that we work for, our constituents, and for our ability to work together as a team to find the common ground to make positive change. I have a finance background. I almost became a banker. I've run my own business for the last 2 decades. I've had the privilege of working in Indigenous communities all across Canada, working with young people and elders in film projects. And I'm passionate about this work, and I'm committed and honored for the nomination. And I'm committed to take this position as to provide leadership to this board, and be committed to holding what we all need, finding that common ground, and supporting the initiatives and the needs that we all have, which are diverse. You know, we look around this boardroom and we have different priorities, and I think the role of chair is to hold all of those priorities. And that's what I'm committed to do in this position, and I would appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Wally, would you like to say a few words?
Thank you, Mr. Yates. I have been on the board since it was created. One day I will learn how to push that button. I think it's a good idea to give every jurisdiction an opportunity to be chair. In the beginning, we had Gold River, and then Electoral Area C we had, and then Zabalos. Sayward with Director McDonald was chair for a while, and then Canberra River, Michelle Babchuk. Then Gold River we had again for a while, and now Sayward. So I think it would be nice to select another area for a change. Personally, I don't really covet the job, but I would be very honored to hold it. I would put my heart into it. I would fulfill every obligation that's required. I have had a lot of experience in running meetings, and if you would select me, I would be delighted. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Director Wally. The procedure is that Edith has already passed out the ballot papers, I believe, and if directors would care to mark their preference. One candidate only, please. And under your procedure bylaw, you require 8 votes to be elected as chair. So if everyone's ready, then Edith, would you collect ballots? We're starting with an empty box. Very good. So directors, under your procedure bylaw, the deputy corporate officer will count the ballots with one other staff person, and we'll bring the totals back to this room, and we will announce if a director has been elected. If not, then we'll proceed through a second round of voting.
What do we do? If there's three running, do we drop off the low one and just go to two?
So the question is, if the second round is needed, do we drop off any of the candidates? Yes. The lowest candidate in terms of votes would be dropped from the second ballot. The objective, of course, is to get to a point where there's at least 8 votes in favor of a single candidate.
Oh, Matthew's here. He just came in.
Good afternoon, Director Jack. Would you like to cast a vote for the chair of this board?
Okay. Sure.
Okay, I will attend to that. Thank you.
Excuse me, Tom, did you tell Matthew Jack who is nominated for the position of chair? Oh.
I could hardly hear you, but I think I got the gist.
It's my voice. Boy, you're squeaking a lot there, buddy. Hey, what do you say, Sonny? Huh? That could be annoying during the meeting. Maybe she's done it before here in work. Yeah. I forgot to wear my hearing aids today. This could be entertaining.
How, can you hear the chatter or not?
Yeah, I can hear this.
Can always give you sign language.
Thank you. So we have failed to elect the board chair for 2025. Director Wally received the lowest number of votes, so he will be taken off the list, and we'll do another voting round. Hopefully Edith has enough ballot papers. So just a reminder, the choices this time around will be between Director Baker and Director Vanesh, the two remaining candidates.
Turn that on.
Ready? And thoughts?
You know, Ben, every morning when I get up, I think of you working hard.
So in theory, if every director voted for a viable candidate, we should have a winner declared this time.
Yeah, that's right.
Should.
Mathematically. it
Well,
should.
Mathematically.
We're 14, we're 7 and 7. You could get 7 and 7.
That is possible,
It's still split.
Right.
but is it probable?
There's a 50-50 chance.
There is.
Boy, you cut the tension with a knife. Eh? High stakes.
Thank you. So the board has elected Director Baker as the chair for 2025. Congratulations, and thanks to all who ran for the position. The next item on the agenda is the election of the vice chair, and we'll follow the same procedure, taking nominations from the floor, then proceed to voting if necessary.
I nominate Matthew Jack as vice chair.
Second?
Director Jack, you've been nominated. Would you accept that nomination?
I humbly accept.
Thank you. Are there any further nominations for vice chair? For the third and last time, any nominations for vice chair? Hearing none, I will declare Director Jack elected by acclamation to vice chair position. Thank you. And Chair Baker, would you like to chair the rest of the meeting, please?
Please. You're a great Joshua.
Easy.
As hard as you go. You can pay me later.
Same payment I gave you last time?
Yeah. Your big fat nothing.
Big fat nothing.
Okay.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for the nomination. Again, I'm honored to be here. Okay, we'll start off with, we have quorum. Yeah. First, we acknowledge that we're located on the traditional territory of the Lakwatach people. We'll call the meeting to order. Another thing that I need to mention is that we are not going to be filling the different committee positions until January 7th meeting. No, not January 7th, but the January meeting. So if nobody's gotten a call on why, that's why. So everything will just remain as it is right now. Do we get a motion to extend, please?
Second.
I'll second it. Oh, you have to pick your game there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we have, did you pick a second out of the group?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
Director Wally.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Thank you. Adoption of public agenda.
Mr. Chair, I would like to vary the agenda to put item 4 to come before item 3 under staff reports, please.
Okay, we have a motion.
I can second that.
Discussion? Item 3 to come before 4.
Yes, please. No, item 4 comes before 3. Just reverse those two. They're both on the same topic. I think that's a better logical order.
Okay. Sorry? Do I have a vote on that? Yeah. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Petition delegate,
need an adoption as amended motion?
adopted, yes, sorry. Yeah.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Petition and delegations, we have John Thomas and Lisa Clark from the Village of Sayward will be presenting on the funding for the Kelsey Center Recreation Facility. Please.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Congratulations on your election. Good afternoon, Board of Directors. My name is John Thomas. I am the Acting Chief Administrative Officer for the Village of Sayward. With me, we have Lisa Clark, who is the Chief Financial Officer, and on my right, Michelle Davis, who is our Manager of Recreation, Events, and Culture. I have a presentation that I'd like to walk the board through and provide some information about the Kelsey Center in consideration for other topics on the agenda. Again, I'd like to thank the chair, the board, the executive team, CAO Leach, for providing us the opportunity to speak today. I'd also like to thank Director Wally for meeting with me on November 15th at the Kelsey Center for a tour of the facility so that he had a firsthand knowledge of the facilities in question. Our team at the Village of Sayward is quite small. We have a few people working in recreation, some working in the public works, 3 working in staff in the administrative offices, and we have a team of what was 16 now has grown to about 24 fire department volunteer members. We are here today to provide the board with some accurate information about the importance of the Kelsey Center to the community, to provide information about the services provided by the Kelsey Center in the community, to extend an invitation for an informed discussion in a collaborative way, and to correct some misinformation that we believe has been circulated out in the public, which may be unnecessarily causing some divisions in the community. We've often heard of the village-valley divide or relations, and the village of Sayward's position is we're one. We wish to build bridges, not fences. The road to the village runs through the valley. We have one postal code. We're all residents of Sayward. The services provided by the village, by Kelsey Center, benefits all in the valley and in the village combined. Police services, fire services, emergency services, medical, Legion, postal, library, school, marina, playgrounds, ball field, boat launch, wharf, and much more are provided by the village. The Heritage Hall, fire services as well, gas station, groceries, restaurants, farm stands, and accommodations, and highway access is provided within the valley itself. Some important statistics from the information that has been published within the community of Sayward does not align with information from BC Assessment nor the statistics available on Stats Canada. The village has a population base of about 334 from 2021 statistics, which represents about 6.9% growth from 2016. We have a total dwelling portfolio of 182. Which represents 2.2 household size on average in the community. In the valley, we have a resident population of 864, which represents approximately 11% growth when compared to 2016 census, and a total dwelling of approximately 474. Again, this number is from 2021. And that immediately contradicts some information that has been published out in the community. Together, we are 1,198 strong. The history of the Kelsey Center was constructed in approximately 1974, paid for by the forest industry. It helped supported recruitment, staffing, and family well-being in the community. And as I think many people would recognize, the village of Sayward has evolved as a product of the industry itself. The Kelsey Center itself was transferred to the village of Sayward. It is 100% amortized. The village is not carrying a mortgage for the facility, and we have no debt related to the facility, also contrary to what has been circulated publicly. The services of the Kelsey Center is many. We provide immunization clinics, Tour de Rock fundraising for cancer, a commercial kitchen. We host elections for federal, provincial, local, and regional districts in the facility. We have a community pool that we provide diving training, swim lessons, life-saving courses. We have a weight room, a gymnasium, multi-purpose room. We provide hot tub services, sauna, childcare after-school program, first aid courses, firearm safety training, seniors program, including carpet bowling, seniors lunches, seniors crib and craft. We also have the municipal office, emergency operations center, which has backup power to it, and we lose power quite often in the community. We have backup radio in partnership with SRD. Thank you for that service. It's also an emergency warming center for the community. We also provide age-friendly van service that transports local village and valley residents to Canberra River for shopping, and that's a very important and well-utilized service in the community. 100% funded by the village itself. We also host special events and special projects within the Kelsey Center, including Halloween, which was fantastically done by the recreation team. Shout out to Sophia. Spring break camps, day camps, teen drop-in and other programs, and mom shop and swap events as well. Last but not least, we also have a relationship with SD72, where they use the Kelsey Center in partnership with the village to provide swimming programs for children that have learning challenges. Approximately 9 to 14 children and teachers attend this from September to June annually. Who we serve? We serve everyone. We serve residents of Electoral Area A. We serve Village of Sayward residents. We serve visitors, which is a very small proportion of the people who attend the Kelsey Center. I also want to take an opportunity to provide some user statistics of the Kelsey Center. In 2023, we had 4,012 people visit the Kelsey Center. In 2024, for the first 10 months, we've had 3,158. Total visitors of the Kelsey Center, excluding the pool, is broken out into categories of residents in the valley relative to residents in the town itself. And as you can see visually, the majority of the representations are from members who reside in the valley. In 2024, to date, we have 1,031 and 805 for the village. Total visitors of the pool, in 2023, we've had 1,752, and 2024, for the first 10 months, 1,427. Here are some information of how the pool users are distributed by month. Where you don't see any figure is either we did not capture that month or we were closed for that month. As you will see, in the winter season, we use the pool more regularly, whereas in the summer it's closed and people use the beaches that are available. October this year appears to be the highest user to date, year over year, and that's for 2024. And the average pool user is higher this year relative to last year. We're sitting at 178 for the first 10 months relative to 175 for 12 months the previous year. Other statistics, and we took a further step of breaking down some other programs and user information. The after-school program, for October this year alone, we've had 159 users, of which 111 are residents of Electoral Area A. 48 were the village itself. Teen night, again, the majority of residents are from the valley or Electoral Area A. Weight room is a heavily used program for the town itself. We have 49 out of 54 using it from the town. And for the pool, we did not distinguish between valley or village, but it is doubtful that 92% of the village residents are using the pool alone. I think that distribution is certainly between the village and the valley as well. Pro D Day and swim lessons are reflecting the same trend of the majority residents in Electoral Area A. For the record, I wanted to clarify that I provided and worked with Director Wally to provide some information. I provided the village financial statement or the bylaws, the revenue and expenses, the excerpts from the asset management report on the Kelsey Center. This spreadsheet, however, which includes the analysis, it has been reported to me that I provided that information, and I do want to correct the record that I did not provide that information. And any assertion of that would be incorrect. We also have some interpretation concerns about some of the numbers that gave rise to the calculation for taxation. So in the publication, it said that there were 227 properties in the Sayward Valley used for the calculation, and our research shows there are at least 524 properties, separate folios from the property assessment in the valley. The asset management upgrades, yes, the building is over 50 years old, or approximately. It needs work. It is not falling apart. It was certainly constructed in a different building code time, for sure. And we do need to invest some resources into moving it forward. The publication assumes that all the retrofits will be done in 1 year, and that is unfeasible. And the reality is we need to do a proper planning process before we can approach any major upgrades. This is, again, pulled directly from the folio, and as you can see, it's listed Sayward Valley and its active folios, Sayward Valley, and it's with Strathcona. Grants. The publication does not anticipate any grant funding in the calculation, thereby showing, I believe, a deliberately inflated cost to residents. The village regularly explores grant opportunities for many of its major projects. We've had over $1.2 million granted to the village for a major drainage project. But in relation to the Kelsey Center specifically, we've had for 2024 $80,000 in grants provided to the village, and we are actively exploring other opportunities. The 60-40 ratio used in the calculation is not a reflection, and I'm not sure the source of that. To my knowledge, no decision has been made by SRD board or by the village on that matter. The referendum, we've done and we've tried to find some information about the referendum that has been identified in the publication. We're not contesting whether it's accurate or not. All we're able to say is we've checked and we have not been able to find the source of the referendum or any information about the outcome. We would certainly be interested in learning that. But I will say, from stats that we have gathered from our research in transactions in the real estate market, in the changes in demographic at the school in Sayward, as well as the number of kids we have visiting the Kelsey Center, we know that from 20 years ago to now, the world in Sayward has changed, even though it may not look at it at first glance. And I just wanted to bring this information to you in consideration for other matters. I thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Is there any questions? Director Wally?
I have 10 questions, Mr. Chair, that I've laid out here. First of all, I want to thank John and Lisa for your presentation. I recognize that it's difficult for a municipality with such a small population to operate and maintain expensive infrastructure. And my constituents have a lot of questions about what the village actually envisions over the long term with their facility. Now, my first question is, and like I said before, if you don't know the answer to these, just say you don't know and I'll move on. The Village of Sayward, being part of the Strathcona Regional District, ostensibly agrees with and supports the Regional District's strategic priorities. As you and your village council are undoubtedly aware and therefore your very first priority in good governance, as agreed upon in our strategic priorities, is to proactively communicate and engage with our communities. So my first question then is, why have you not engaged with Area A concerning the Kelsey Center funding before you launched the very first step into pushing Area A residents into a funding service?
I imagine that question is for me, sir?
Yes, these questions are for you.
I am unable to speak as to why. I started with this village in September, and the village has been having some challenges with good governance, as you probably are aware, and it's in the media, and we're working to address those.
Okay. My second question is, I'm aware that there are a few people in the valley who have indicated that they would like to help fund the Kelsey Center, such as Lisa, for example. Has the village considered undertaking a fundraising endeavor to reach out to those people in the valley who want to contribute? Would you consider that?
I think it would be premature for me to surmise what avenues the village will explore at this time. I think first we need to set a budget and determine what the gaps are in the funding model and then look for ways to fill that gap.
Thank you. Question 3. The Kelsey Center, I think, might be a little bit misleading for some of the board members when we're considering what to contemplate here. Approximately 1/3 of this Kelsey Center, and this is approximate, is the village's municipal offices and council chambers. And surely the village doesn't expect Electoral A to help maintain and operate that portion of the building, do you?
I'm unable to comment on that. I don't know that the estimation of 1/3 would be an accurate reflection of the portfolio of the building. Second to that, the village is able to fund its current operation for the municipal operation. The Kelsey Center is a service that is used primarily and heavily by residents of electoral area A. I'm sure the village council would be in a position to have a discussion on that, but I can't comment on that before they do.
CAO.
If I can, Mr. Chair, I haven't seen the rest of the questions, but if they're trending in the same direction, we have a motion from Municipal Services on this board, and that motion was to explore looking at the Village in the Valley recreation model. So if that passes, I imagine a lot of these questions will be part of that report, and I don't know if it's fair that, I mean, this motion came from Municipal Services, not from the CAO of the village. So I don't know how he can answer these. We haven't even passed the motion to explore that. So
Yes,
I
I
don't know.
understand. I understand all that. And the reason I'm asking these questions is because there's also motion for the board today that we form a subcommittee, and I would think it would be difficult for staff or for a consultant to answer these very questions that the village hasn't yet discussed and considered themselves. And the whole point of this is that let's have a subcommittee first, and that'll come up later in the meeting. We'll get the answers. The village will have time to research and do whatever it wants. We'll bring that back to the board, and then if a second recreation report is required, we can do that. Anyway, that's where I'm headed. So the next point I wanted to bring out, and yes, you're right, John, that a third isn't an accurate floor plan average, but it's close. It's an estimate. And the other third, of course, approximately, is your community center with all those functions that you pointed out there, which I appreciate. As you're well aware, the Sayward Valley also has its own community center that we exclusively fund. And the vast number of village's residents use that the Valley Community Center every week in the summertime. And just like the Valley residents use the village facility. And my point is, we pay for our community center, and I'm hoping that the village isn't intending for us to pay for that second third of the building that is your community center. So I'm sure you haven't discussed that yet, so I'll just skip along here. The last third then is the pool. So I wonder if you have cost figures developed for the maintenance, the needed upgrades, and the operating costs just for the pool area.
The village has a 2019 asset management plan for its portfolio of assets. We've also done a refresh of that in 2024 prior to me joining. That is currently under review. Unfortunately, I don't have those stats with me at this moment.
That's fine, thank you. And then fourth question, the second law of thermodynamics, I'm sure you're all familiar with, is the principle of entropy. And basically it says that whether it's an airplane or a car or a building or a human body, everything in the universe rots, rusts, falls apart over time one way or another. Everything and everybody has an end of life. So at 50 years of age, Campbell River, for example, has declared that their Strathcona Gardens had reached the end of its useful life, and they use that to justify borrowing $70 million to replace it. The Kelsey Center is the same age. Has the village done any formal studies to determine what they expect would be the end of Kelsey Center's useful life?
The short answer is I'm not aware of any study specifically about the end of the useful life of the asset. I imagine the asset management study that was done earlier will likely have looked at that, but I would have to get back to you on that question.
Thank you. Number 5. Now, I see in the village's 5-year budget from 2024, it projects the 2025 operating expenses for the Kelsey Center, $306,331. That's the entire facility. Offset by a revenue of $32,004, leaving a deficit of $274,327. This is just operating expenses. Now, I expect the village pays for those with deficits and a combination of those deficits, a combination of requisition and grants. So my question is, how much in grants has the village already secured and appropriated for operational costs for the Kelsey Center for 2025?
Isolating the grants for operating would be a difficult task for me to do on the spot, but we could certainly look into that. But what I will say is the municipality looks at its needs, and the operating cost of the Kelsey Center being $300,000 is absolutely minimal. It is shockingly low, to be honest. And I think there is a direct relationship between the volume of users versus the need for staffing and other operating costs of the facilities.
Thank you.
So again, we will certainly look at those costs, but the municipality works with, we put all our resources together and then we distribute as is necessary.
Great. Okay, number 6, the Kelsey Center projects a revenue in the 2025 of $32,004. So how much of that is strictly from use of the pool, and how many paid memberships does the pool have?
Just conferring with Michelle, I understand that the fee for usage in the pool is $6 for drop-in. We have roughly 4,012 people attending.
Do you have a number of memberships?
We don't have memberships for the pool.
you don't
It's
have
available to
memberships, okay.
anyone, again, on a drop-in fee basis. But I just want everyone to understand the drop-in fee is not meant to be sufficiently high to act as a barrier for access. It is also not meant to be a cost recovery center. I am not aware of most recreation services in local government in BC being a cost recovery center.
I understand. No, I was curious of memberships because
I'm not getting a lot from this discussion. I'm wondering if we can get to a point and then move on to the next agenda item.
And what's your point of order?
That we have a lot on the agenda and we need to move.
I think I'm allowed to ask questions.
I think there's got to be a practical limit on this.
Well, there is. I got 10 questions, and I'm just about through them.
First, we'll go to Director Chapman. We'll go back to Director Wally. Director Chapman?
I just wanted to comment on some of the things already asked. One is I appreciate that the village has not predetermined what the outcome is. And I know that might be a source of frustration where they don't have, they haven't established what their vision is, but at least it's open and open for discussion.
Point of order, Mr. Chair.
And what's your point of
I believe
order?
this is the time to ask questions of our delegation, not to debate the issue.
I withhold future questions until Director Wally completes his 10 questions so we can move forward.
Thank you.
Okay.
If you don't
Director
interrupt me,
Dahl?
I'll finish them up.
First, we'll go to Director Dahl, then we'll go back to you, Director Wally.
Thank you.
I don't know if this is the right time, but I thought maybe we could just have the director make a director's report, supply all of these questions to the rest of the board and staff, so everyone can understand what exactly is the point of all of these questions. None of the questions were clearly supplied to the Sayward CAO so that he could be prepared to answer the questions. So we're going to ask 10 questions, or Director Wally will ask 10 questions that all get the same answer, because the questions weren't sent in so that people could be prepared. And it seems like we're going to spend a fair bit of our time sitting here listening to the same thing over and over and over. It just doesn't seem like a good use of our time.
Director Wally.
Thank you. Perhaps these questions are of no interest to Campbell River. They're of big interest to Area A's constituents, and that's why I'm asking them and putting them on the record. It's very important that.
Excuse me?
I didn't say they were of no interest. I said that nobody's prepared to answer them. So we're getting the same answer over and over and over again, and they could have been supplied to the CAO so that we could have had a functional period of time here, but they weren't.
If I had known all the details of the delegation's comments, perhaps I would have done so. Anyway, let me just finish up here and quit wasting more time. I have a few questions about capital expenditures. We have a copy of the Village Asset Management Plan from 2019, which only identifies some of the many needed capital upgrades and maintenance that the Kelsey Center will need to keep operating. Adjusted to $24, those repairs are about $770,000. That's just some of them. As of the 2025 budget that the CRD is now beginning to work on, that makes that capital management plan 6 years old. So my question is, have you scheduled in the village a complete and up-to-date asset management plan for the future?
I am happy to report the village, as I mentioned earlier in my presentation, the village has completed a 2024 asset management study. That study is currently being reviewed by staff along with the engineers that had done that work for the village. It will
you.
soon be brought to council and council will have its normal course of deliberation.
And when was the last time the village had the Kelsey Center inspected to see what it would take to bring it up to modern building codes? Check the structural integrity, whether it's sufficient to withstand a strong earthquake?
I'm not aware of any seismic studies being done on the facilities at this time.
How about code?
Or any additional work about changing the code. My understanding is that the building was constructed during a specific code that existed at the time, and if we are making substantial changes to the existing envelope of the building, then we would have to bring it up to code, but I'm not aware of that work being done.
Thank you. How much does the village have in your financial plan for appropriated reserves for upgrades and maintenance of the Kelsey Center?
It is true the village's reserve portfolio is on the lower end of scale. We do have a residence base of 334 people, and thus of 450,000 roughly in annual taxation, we are not able to have a well-funded reserve program, but it's something we will work on.
Has the village council discussed whether they're wanting to sell the Kelsey Center to the regional district or retain ownership themselves?
To my knowledge, the village council has not received any such report or consideration of selling the facilities.
Okay, final question. Not very long ago, a Valley resident addressed the village council asking them to consider the benefits of disincorporating and joining the regional district. When does the village plan to investigate this potential solution to many of its difficulties?
To my knowledge, a consideration of dissolution by council is not something that has been on agenda recently, and I'm not aware that it's up for consideration anytime soon.
Thank you very much. That's it.
Any additional questions? Director Mowini.
Thank you, Chair, and I will make it brief. I did have one question, and that was this, there's a lot going on here, and you were really making a case for the fact that the Kelsey Center is a Village and Valley asset. I'm curious if the Sayward Village Council has made any motion to pursue this avenue of connection with the SRD and looking for further support. This is something that has been deliberated and had a vote on at the Sayward Village Council.
Thank you for the question, Director. To my knowledge, the Village of Sayward Council has not considered or passed a motion on this topic. The first we became aware of it really from a staffing perspective was through Facebook posts and news articles. And so we felt it was important to at least provide the SRD board with some additional facts to consider when discussing this matter.
Okay, and my follow-up would be that we do have a motion here to discuss whether having a subcommittee of directors would be a suitable way to investigate it, and I'm just curious if that's something that you think would be beneficial from the...
That's out of order.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think
Sorry.
John
Okay.
can answer that.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much for,
Just one quick question.
okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Pradesh.
In your opinion, obviously the Sayward Valley is using this facility significantly. In your opinion, can the Kelsey Center survive without getting the support in a taxation way from the Valley?
Thank you for the question, Director. I, as an administrator, stay far from providing opinions. I will provide what my assessment is. I think it would be helpful if there are additional ways to work together.
Okay, thank you very much for your presentation. Set up to be received.
Motion to receive.
Move to receive.
Thank you. Second? Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. By all means.
The Director Wally give us, the board, a director's report of all of the 10 questions so that we can all research them and understand better what's going on here. It was clear that I think the board is missing a pile of information.
Who's the second? That was Director Kerr. Discussion? Director Wally?
Yeah, could you just tell me that motion again, please?
Director prepare a director's report for the next meeting.
Your microphone, please.
That the director prepare a director's report for the next meeting so everyone can have the time to read and understand his questions.
Thank you.
Okay, my comment, Mr. Chair, is I have no intention of preparing a director's report, but this entire conversation is online and available to anybody who wants to listen to it. So go right ahead, fill your boots.
There's a motion on the floor. All in favor?
Point of order, Mr. Chair. Board has no authority to force me to do a director's report.
They can't force you, but they can certainly vote on the motion, whether you write the report or not. Yeah.
Yeah. All in favor? Opposed? We got Director Von Esch, Director Mawhinney, Director Lott. Opposed. The motion is carried. North Island College Student Housing. Naomi is the division, and North Island College will give a presentation in support of student housing, and the Campbell River campus. Welcome.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for having us. As noted, I'm Naomi Tabata, Director of Envision North Island at North Island College, and I'm so grateful to have here my colleague, Diane Nogler, who is the Executive Director of our Public Affairs and Communications Division at the college. And we're thrilled to talk to you today about housing in Campbell River. And I beg your patience, all the Campbell River team have heard this. Maybe there's some new updates to add, but by and large, most of this will be familiar to you. So what we'd love to do, you already gave a territorial welcome at the beginning of your meeting, so I will flip past this, but I will note that much in a similar way to the region, at North Island College, we serve the entire North Island. There are 35 Indigenous communities within that region whom we are grateful and have the pleasure of working very closely with. And that is one of the exciting pieces about this project, is providing opportunities for all of those various communities throughout the region. At North Island College, a bit of a primer, if it's been a while for you, we have 4 campuses and 1 learning center. The biggest, largest campus is in Courtenay. Campbell River is our second largest in terms of numbers and space campus here in the community. And we also have campuses in Port Alberni, and Mihalakwila campus is at Port Hardy, a learning center in Ucluelet. So we're quite spaced out throughout this immense region, 80,000 square kilometers. And I'm really thrilled to say that we have over 7,000 students that we serve on an annual basis. And next year is party year. If you're wondering, it's going to be our 50th year anniversary next year, so we have been in the community for some time. Programs at North Island College. If it's been a while, you might know North Island College as a trades community, and we do have a large number of trades programs at this campus. Almost half of our programming is for trades and technical programs. So that's the things that you would typically think of. That's welding, that's automotive, that is heavy-duty mechanic, but it's also some things you might not think about as trades. That is, that's industrial automation, so robotics in industry. That is a number of other programs that are technical in nature that are happening at this campus. We also have, as you can see on the screen, university transfer courses, health and human services. Early childhood care happens at this campus, adult upgrading. It's a very broad range of programs. And one of the things that we're doing to help support this initiative is to start investigating opportunities to have student housing at our campuses to support the needs of the entire region. So, and very relevant to many of your communities is how do we best support students who want to come to our campuses to learn. This image here is an image of the student housing building that we are currently building at our Courtenay campus. So that project has been in the works for a number of years. in the planning and building process, and we're thrilled that we're in the final stages. So we expect to be finished this build come this summer, with students moving in September of next year. And so following on the success of this project, we are now investigating building student housing at this campus in Campbell River. The province has invited us to submit a business case. And so we are currently working at submitting to the province a proposal that documents the feasibility of such a facility here in Campbell River. This will include sort of the financials around would this be cost sustainable in an operating perspective, the actual upfront capital costs, and sort of the demand and need for a facility like this in Campbell River. We have been working towards this business case since January of this year, and it's really important to note that this is a really early phase in the process to have student housing in the community. So although we're at the early stage, of course, government approval is the next piece that we're very likely hoping will come in the summer of next year. And then the typical processes that you would expect for a big public sector build like this. We would have our design and construction trades teams, all of that secured, and we would hope to be opening by end of 2028. And that's one of the new and different pieces from our Campbell River presentation, is that we worked closely with our architectural and design teams to really tighten up that schedule. We have also been very busy engaging with community. And so we consider our Lokotok people as our rights-holding nations in this community. Weh-wee-Kam, Weh-wee-Kai, and Kuyaka have all been involved in our ongoing design processes, and we share a property with the school district, as many of you know. So Timberline High School team, as well as the school district superintendent and staff, have been very involved in our conversations so far. And outside of those rights holders, we also consider the community as a key partner. So we've been engaging with many of the folks that you see here on the screen. Of course, the city, Island Health. We have a daycare on site. We are right next door to the Beaver Lodge lands, so their Trust Society have also been part of our engagement process. And as you can see here, a number of the other organizations that are very interested in either training and getting access to training, or addressing sort of issues around housing and even homelessness in the community. So far, what we've been up to is we've hired our design build team. We've been working closely with architects over the last number of months to develop a few design options. We have been working with guardians. The Weh-wee-Kai guardians have come out to the site to assess if there's any areas of cultural or historical significance that we need to be aware of. And they were unable to locate any on the site, so we are moving forward. We have done some traffic and parking analyses, and of course the business case that I've just referred to. So all of this is happening in alignment with the ongoing engagement. Some of you are familiar with the site. For those of you who aren't, top of the diagram here is Dogwood Street. Hilchey is on the left, Rockland Road would be on the right. And so the campus that, we have an entrance from the Dogwood Street that is a big sort of horseshoe shaped with the bus loop. If you can see those two big squares on the top left, those are our prospective building sites. They flank the existing daycare. So we're kind of treating that as our primary potential build site. We're very much interested at this current point at the site on the right on its parking lot currently. So we're looking at that spot currently and really looking at the opportunity to build their housing for up to 170 single students, with the addition of family units being on site. So we would allow students to come and bring their families with them. So the initial concepts are all looking at having students who are coming on their own, either for typical semester-based programs, separate housing for students who are coming for shorter programs. If you can imagine trades programs, a lot of those specialty programs are not semester-based. And so this would be a very unique project, which would allow students to come in and not be tied to the semester in order to take advantage of the housing opportunities we're providing. And then, of course, family housing, which will provide for students to bring their partner, maybe their small children, and we would have opportunities on site for that. We have provided little bits of fact sheets for you. If you have any questions about those or would like additional copies, we're happy to share them. But really what we're really here to hope to discuss, or you can tell us how to best approach this, is we're really looking for letters of support as we go to the province with our business case. We'd love to be able to demonstrate the value of this project to the region that we serve. So in particular, that's really important to us, that all the smaller communities, all the remote communities where students might not easily be able to commute or access the campus, and I mean any of our campuses, right? We want to provide an opportunity for those students. So if this feels like something that's valued to your community, we'd love to hear about it. We'd love to have a letter of support from the district and or from the various communities with whom you represent. And that's my spiel. That's the deal.
Thank you very
I'm
much.
really happy to take questions.
Questions? Director Sinnott.
And thank you. Thank you for your presentation again. I know the last time I asked about whether you were going to have like casual accommodation, and then when I was thinking about this, I was thinking about my experience when I lived in a newly built residence at UBC just after Expo. Okay, I'm old. But one of the things that they did in our actual unit was we had ground floor facilities that were sort of commercial. It was a pub. They actually put a pub in there. And I think that's a missing piece in our youth culture in this town, as a place for socialization instead of just, being centered on games and their internet and things like that. So I would encourage you to either to talk to our planning people at the city and outreach about how to make it more livable, walkable, and integrated in terms of, a student's there. Yes, they can go over to Hilchi and go to the coffee shops, but also having that ability to have a connection facility that you can enjoy. So there you go.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. That's also my university experience. Shocking. And I think that's many people's university experience. And I don't mean specifically pubs, but I mean social areas, right? Spaces to gather, spaces to meet people, spaces to really develop your community, right? Yeah. So, and that is a big part of this build. So the plans that we're starting to see come from the designers really include shared spaces. Lots of the ground floor spaces shared. There's a wellness or a gym space. There's communal kitchens. There's lounges and all sorts of areas where students can gather, create community, and hopefully thrive, really.
So if I just have a follow-up, it occurred to me, my daughter who went to university at UVic, because they changed everything, first years were preferred, so it was 18-year-olds. There wasn't the social events when I went to UVic as well. Okay, I went to UVic and UBC, where they changed the food halls into places to have parties on a Friday night. But the other thing that when she went to the UK, she did a term over in England, it's actually much more social. They have a lower drinking age, but they actually have a nightclub in the university when she went to the University of East Anglia. And it was a unique experience for her, and it was really good for bonding. So I'm just saying, we could even think a little broader.
That's fascinating. I don't know of any student residences with a nightclub. I don't know. Never say never. I think that, I wouldn't want to predict the province's reaction to funding something like that, but it might be a challenge. But that doesn't mean that there's not opportunities for that kind of activity to happen nearby or within range of such a housing facility.
Director Van Esch.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the presentation. We need housing. We need all kinds of housing. We need student housing. So I'm a huge supporter of this. Cortez used to have a NIC campus up until probably 10 years ago or something. So I know that it's certainly of benefit to Cortez, and I'm happy to provide a letter of support personally as a representative for Cortez that used to have this campus, and I'm prepared to make a motion for a letter of support from the board.
Okay, Director Jack, and then a letter of support.
Yes, thank you guys for your presentation, and it's amazing to see all the development and As coming from a remote community and the amount of students we have coming out that use your guys' facilities and the trades programs, the difficult part is always housing. And especially coming, moving from Cayucit and coming out here, whether it's Nanaimo or Courtney or Camp River, whatever, it's a major need for our students. And it's your contact information on here?
Yes.
For a support letter?
Right at the bottom.
From
Yeah.
Cayucit? Perfect.
That'd be wonderful. Thank you, Director Jack.
Thank you.
So can I get a motion for a letter of support, please?
I'll move that the Strathcona Regional District provide a letter of support to NIC for their recent grant application.
Director Chapman, second? Sure. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Thank you very much for your presentation today.
Thank you so much for your time and your support. We're so grateful.
Thank you. Motion to receive?
So moved. Second.
Discussion? Director Goulburn.
I just want to thank the delegation for all of their outreach to come into communities and provide the online programs that you do and work with communities to do some of these smaller pieces. I think as well, it alleviates some of the housing problem when those are being accessed by people in remote communities. So thank you for that as well.
Thank you. Yeah, it's certainly a huge part of who we are. It's how we started, right? Doing in-community programming and taking instructors and programs on the road. So it's something we still feel very strongly about. Access is critical. Thank you.
Thank you. All in favor, receipt? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. That the minutes of the regular meeting, Regional Board meeting on October 30th be adopted.
So moved.
Thank you. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Business arising? None. Public consideration? Chair's report again. Remember that I'm gone through the month of December. So in January, we will do the appointments. Everything will stay the same. Okay? So I will be contacting you when I get back to find out what your interests, where your interests lie, or if you want to stay with the same committees that you have presently. We need a motion to receive that? No. Good, thank you. Committee Chair Report, Electoral Area D Advisory Planning Commission. That the draft minutes of the regular meeting of Electoral Area D Advisory Commission that was held October 30th, 2024 be received.
So moved.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, carried. Strathcona Gardens Commission, that the draft minutes of the regular meeting of the Strathcona Gardens Commission on October 30th, 2024 be received.
So moved.
Thank you, Director Senate, Director Wally. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. And that the draft minutes of the regular meeting of the Electoral Area Service Committee held November 6, 2024 be received.
Second.
Director Mawhinney, second. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. First Nations Relations Committee, that the draft minutes of the regular meeting of the First Nations Relations Committee held on November 6, 2024 be received.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Staff reports. Healthy Community Contract, Island Health, that the report from the CAO be received.
So moved.
Second.
Annika will present this, Mr. Chair.
Thank you to the board. I'd like to take this opportunity to build off of the staff report that you have received as part of your agenda package and provide you a little more clarity and information with respect to where we have been and where we look to go with respect to our existing contract with Island Health, with respect to healthy communities. Edie will just pull up the presentation now. Thank you. So the Regional District and our Healthy Communities Initiative, we have had initiatives since about 2016. So since 2016, we've held a contract with Island Health to work towards community health throughout the region. We have successfully negotiated some changes to our contract language with Island Health and able to actually get some increased funding towards healthy community initiatives throughout the region. Our current contract, which we are putting forward to you today, is for the term from 2024 to 2025 and includes an offer of $339,000 and some change, which would help to provide capacity to the regional district through our resources, our employing a community health coordinator and working in community towards health and wellness initiatives, again, throughout the region. Our new contract with Island Health allows us to actually expand on our role within the region and consider the establishment of a formal committee. To date, we've had a health network, which is comprised of a table of partners made up of appointed members of our board, staff, and representatives of the community and agencies that work within the community towards health and wellness. Again, this new contract would allow the regional district to establish a committee that would look towards community health, wellness, and safety, and be a formal committee of the board, which then has a further direct reporting structure to the board to help navigate and initiate projects and services that the board feels appropriate. So what this would do is allow us to have more autonomy and authority throughout the regional district. When I talk about establishing a committee of the board, I'd like to make it very clear that the intent here is not to completely exclude those members of the community that have worked so hard on our table of partners to date, those agencies and resources within the community that inform the table of partners and the regional district to assist us on our health priorities and initiatives throughout the region. So this committee of the board would be a committee directly of the board, but also comprised of those very, very important members of the community. By doing that, also, we would be able to have a shared vision, which is in line with our strategic initiatives and those of our member municipalities and electoral area directors and communities, and establish those sorts of commitments that reflect this vision. So seeing what happens at this table, which is made up mostly of the boots on the ground working people, to be very in line with this vision and allow us to proceed and move in a better, I think, more streamlined way, and also to the partnerships that we currently have with our members and our agencies, allowing us to have more formalized partnerships through those members of the board who would then sit on this committee. Coordinate resources, which is key with our members, and more systems change and impact for policy development through the committee. What could the scope of the committee be? Well, certainly we would be proceeding with where we currently are by addressing health and social determinants of health throughout the community. How those may align with the strategic priorities of the board would be those things that we currently are seeing either in our strategic priorities or through those initiatives and projects that we see recommendations to the board with respect to housing, transportation, food security, education, recreation, connectivity, early years and senior support, which is something we haven't really focused too much on here necessarily, and then of course safety. So these are all of the things that this committee could focus their interests on, which would be in line with our Health the Communities initiative and contract with Island Health. So what are the benefits of the board, committee of a board? Again, what we want to do here is just really augment what we've done to date. We want to acknowledge the good work that we have done at the Table of Partners and all of the commitment of the members that we've had, but be able to better align our initiatives with what the board's strategic initiatives are by having a clear representation at that table from our board to provide better oversight on projects and initiatives. Also better collaboration and representation from individual member municipalities and electoral areas at the committee. To date, we have two representatives at our table, one currently from the City of Campbell River and one from an EA. Hopefully with the development of a committee, we would have more representation and really be able to represent our member municipalities and electoral areas much better than what we are doing today. Also by having a committee, hopefully increased effectiveness and efficiencies at our board table and through our staffing as well. And obviously more sustainable support for the work being done in community, and hopefully stronger advocacy with higher levels of government. There are many, many, many things that the board could do or the committee could do. Some of them that we have put forward here today, and again, this would be developed at the request of the board, is to provide recommendations for any sort of initiatives when it comes to the housing service. So perhaps the committee could be the first line of consideration for projects or initiatives that they may want to recommend the board to give further consideration to. They could help regional, coordinate regional infrastructure in the community, such as the social supports that are in place, food bank, distribution centers, kitchen, gathering spaces. We would streamline, hopefully, direction for the boots on the ground resources. So currently, I don't want to say there's a lot of repetition, but perhaps not as streamlined as what there could be if we had better representation at the table from all of our member munis or a number of our member munis and key agencies. And then, of course, just coordination, better coordination and oversight with respect to what's happening in community. Direct reporting from this committee to the board. We're seeing to date that there's not necessarily as much reporting coming back to the board table. I think this would be a much better, easier way for the board to really understand what's happening through our Healthy Communities initiatives and through the work that we do in community itself. We have many successes to date. I don't want to go through all of them, but we've certainly, through our health, what was the health network or is the health network, we've developed a number of coalition groups that continue to work with community and in community and do very, very good work. We've been successful on a number of grant opportunities. We've created a number of reports and community profiles. The work that we've done with our community profiles are used greatly throughout the community. Is the amount of information that's contained in those reports or profiles are super valuable. And we do a lot of work actually in community. We've been supported for a number of food security programs and initiatives out in our member municipalities and our First Nations. And we've also been very supportive with some of the newer Table of Partners and community safety and wellness advisory committees that have been recently developed in community. Of course, we are not the only regional district with a contract with Island Health, and everyone does things a little bit differently, but certainly there's a key theme here on taking what's happening in community and information that is received and then hopefully providing some sort of tangible outputs or measurable outputs. You'll see the Alberni-Kaikwat Regional District develop their West Coast Transit Service, which connects Tofino and Euclid and their First Nations and EAs, which is a super good transportation initiative, but which is something the Regional District here has been contemplating on how to get involved in. We have the Cowichan Valley Regional District and their village, which is providing temporary housing and meals for those that are in need. Mount Waddington, they created the Foundry, which is a space for youth to access supports. Comox Valley Regional District, what they're doing there through their table and their committee is they're taking information for their housing service and considering different sorts of housing initiatives and projects, and then reporting back to their board on where their funds from their housing service would be best pointed. Cathette, they're doing a social planning program, which was pretty neat, between themselves and the Clan First Nation, and supporting different pillars of 4 pillars of social planning to help assist with their community health throughout the region. What this means for us, so we have a contract again on the table with Island Health, very, very similar to what we've had to date, although again, allowing us to I think broaden ourselves a little greater and be able to insert ourselves a bit more in what's actually happening on the ground and be more informed and more representative. So we would sign this contract with Island Health. If it is the will of the board would create a terms of reference for this committee, and then they would appoint a chair and a board for the committee and determine the meeting schedule. Following that, they would then review those potential applications, which is how it's been done to date. So those agencies or key interest groups, members of those, or just individual members of the community that would like to be part of the committee, they would review those applications and then appoint members from the community to be part of the committee as well, and then hold their inaugural meeting. So I think what's important here, key here, is that, again, this isn't to replace what's happened to date, but certainly augment what we've done and the achievements that we've had to date, and really get the board more involved in what's happening within the table itself and within community, and where we want to direct our resources and focus our attentions, and how best to move projects forward in a more efficient manner. Thank you.
Director Colburn.
Thank you for the presentation. I have 3 questions. Does this contract allow for no changes to be made if that's what the direction this board goes in, or do you have to go back and change the contract again?
Thank you, Chair. No, this would allows us to proceed as is or make changes as we see fit.
My second question is, I'm wondering what kind of projects have been put through the community health network to sort of beef up attendance. What kind of initiatives you have, if any, that you have done to kind of work with what we already have? If there has been invitations to, municipal, and again, capacity issues, right? We seem to be running low on capacity, so I'm just wondering if there's been anything done to outreach to beef up attendance on what is already happening.
Thank you. Through the chair, yeah, that's a very good point. We are seeing issues with capacity at our table and attendance from our membership and those that are wanting to be members. So we have less members than we've had in recent years, and less attendance not as great as what it has been, and certainly not as much capacity to allow for projects to move forward out of the table. So still relatively good conversation happening at the table, but not really a mechanism or capacity for things to actually proceed out from the table. We have tried a number of different methods, and we share throughout our networks to try to re-network and re-engage members. So, we're doing the best that we can, but I do think you are right that just right now, I think that capacity just in and of itself is a bit of a challenge.
And then the last question, so would this committee would essentially make that community health network dissolve and become a different, or is it just a renaming or rebranding? because it's been known as the Strathcona Community Health Network, and now I know we're talking about a committee. So is the committee a piece of that health network, or is that a rebranding?
Yeah, thank you, through the chair. Certainly, the intent is not to dissolve and get rid of everything that's being done or make it difficult for those that are still committed to be part of the committee. What we're hoping is that through this change in the structure, that we will have more interest and more capacity, feeling as though more identifiable in the community, knowing what this is and where it comes from and what it stands for, and those priorities that are very well defined, and gain more traction and interest from the community. So certainly we can't do this without those key interest groups and those agencies that have that knowledge and understanding. Those are the members that we rely on a day-to-day basis. But by augmenting that with the structure of the board and the capacity of the board, hoping that we will, again, gain traction and be able to bring forward more initiatives and projects that we can actually see to fruition.
Director Chapman.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the work you're doing on this. Director Mawhinney and I sit on the Health Network Committee that we currently have. And just speaking for myself, it would be most useful if we could schedule the meeting on any other day than the Thursday that the Solid Waste Management Committee is holding their meetings. I know I've only attended one in person because of that scheduling conflict. And when I'm forced to choose between the Health Network and the Solid Waste Management, I choose the Solid Waste Management. So if we could just find another scheduled time, it can be a Thursday, but it just as long as it's not on the Thursday that Solid Waste Management is being held. I'm willing to still participate as long as I can be of some use, and the only way I can be of some use is if I'm there.
We can do that.
Could we do that?
Yes.
That'd be wonderful.
Yeah, if I just may, one of the next steps would be that the board appoint a chair and members and determine a meeting schedule. So that would certainly be one of the first things that would be done.
Any other questions? Oh, we got a bunch of hands went up. First, Director Sinnott.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and thank you for the presentation. The lawyer in me wants to read the details of the contract and see how we have to deliver these various services, yet in the fine print of the contract, it says at any time Island Health can vary the direction that we're doing. I just want to make sure you don't feel that, is there a way for us to vary the compensation or to realign the service level to capacity, given that ability under the contract? And I think that's under, going to be more precise for you, 14 under the small print. That the contract will perform the services in accordance with any instructions, directions that may be given from Island Health to the contractor from time to time with respect to the provision of the services. That's a big opening to potentially expose our organization. The other one is to understand, because I just did a Google search to see who these various terms were, because we're going to partner with the Island Health Community Health Promoter or an alternate Island Health Population Medical Health Designate. Yet right now, Island Health has got someone called a Healthy Communities Coordinator they're advertising for. So it seems to me they're using various terms. Is there a specific human right now? Is our community health promoters? It's a a plural, so it's kind of an odd kind of name.
If I can, I'll answer part of that. We have partnered with Island Health for the last 7 or 8 years, and I think they've been an excellent hands-off partner, and they're extremely liberal. So our past practice with them has been very good. They have been very liberal with the flexibility with what we do with the money and who we hire. And so in terms of that, we have a good history with Island Health.
So I'm hearing the risk is relatively low from the staff perspective.
I'd say very low. Like they've been very hands off, and this agreement is more hands off.
Right. And then the question is, who are we partnering with? Who is the community health promoters, plural?
Thank you, through the chair. This is a new position that Island Health, or actually their positions, depending on which region you're in, to help facilitate the work that's being done in community with Island Health. So this is actually to supplement how information flows back and forth between the contract holder and Island Health. So it is a new position. I do believe we do have someone in the seat just recently for our region. But it ideally or technically is Island Health, but this is just a position within Island Health, which is helping that.
Director Wally.
One of my concerns is that the board has a habit of having a preponderance of reports requiring from staff. And I think if we move to a committee of the board, they'll come back. What's the possibility they're going to ask for a dozen more staff reports? I think our staff is going to be swamped. And my other question is there a budget line for this, or is this totally funded by VIHA?
Kind of 2 for 1. It's kind of the same. This funding from Island Health funds the position, so it's fully funded through Island Health, and they augment it with additional funds for reports and meetings and so on and so forth. So the burden that's put on staff is paid for and occupied by the community health coordinator, so it's fully funded.
Any additional questions? Director Mawhinney.
Thank you, Chair. So I've been in the fortunate position of sitting on the Strathcona Community Health Network for the past year, and I do bring that lens to this discussion. The Community Health Network right now titles itself the Network of Networks, and it provides connection and builds the network between Island Health and School District 72 and ourselves and First Nations Health and seniors and housing groups and philanthropic groups and much more. And there are connections and thoughtful discussions which happen. In this last year, the network has been engaged in reviewing and updating the terms of reference of the network, and they hired a consultant to create a new strategic priorities plan. And there was a lot of time spent by community leaders at that network table engaged in this process. And when I think about starting this process all over again to start a subcommittee, it kind of feels a bit like costly organizational churn, which may not realize much benefit to the communities we serve. So I do have a concern about that. And we are talking now about creating this this committee. And you know, right now the BC government is currently running a $9 billion deficit. And if we're partnering with the health authority and move more fully into that space, what happens at the end of the contract if it's not renewed and the SRD has shouldered responsibility for broad health, safety, and wellness outcomes of our region? It may be another cost which we'll have to internalize and then pass on to our constituents through requisition. So that I think that's something that I think we need to consider when we're considering creating this committee. And in the slides that you showed us, Aniko, there was a few terms that you used talking about coordinating resources on health initiatives, and also the phrase where we want to direct our resources, and talking about regional infrastructure supports, including things like food banks and kitchens. And are those things that you're talking about when we're talking about resourcing health initiatives? Are those things that you we would be anticipating to be discussing at the committee level and then bringing to the board and then having the board fund? Because I have looked around at, there seems like not all health networks are run through a regional district like ours is. Like they're often organized independently. But I did notice that in the Capital Regional District 2023 Health Network Work Plan, it states that the role of the network is to facilitate and amplify community work and not to generate new programs, which doesn't mean that that would be our terms of reference, but it felt like there was more of a direction to be anticipating more resources beyond the scope of providing for one employee to network amongst the region. Could you speak to that?
So I'll speak to a few of those. The current health network is already a subcommittee of the board. It's not a formal subcommittee, but it acts as a subcommittee. So when we refer to it as a subcommittee of the board, it has always acted on that. So it's not additional resources or time or reports or anything from that. Ongoing costs, we're not committed to anything beyond what the board supports. So the funding is 100% there. If the funding ends, the coordinator position would end and the committee would end. There is ongoing support and has been from Island Health to continue funding it. They're working on a longer term contract. This is a 3-year contract. They hope to move it to a 5-year contract. So there isn't any ongoing requirement or expectation of support for programs for Community Health Network. And talking about the liberty of what the other regional districts do. So the reason that the Island Health funding has to come through the regional district is that's how Island Health funds it. So they need a spot to fund this, and it's through the regional district. So they give you the liberty. They say the determinants of health is the only really requirement, and so one has quite a lot of liberty to create a terms of reference and execute whatever they want within those. So if the CRD is doing one thing and they're funding and creating ongoing programs, that's within their availability to do that, but that doesn't commit us to do that.
Okay, any additional questions? No? On receipt, Director Colburn.
I just have one more. I'm wondering how the network has been engaged on the proposed changes. I know that this is a function of the board and this is what we do and it's our subcommittee essentially, but I'm wondering how that has been translated to the network and the partners and the coordinator. Just, it feels like, when I first read this, it feels like another kind of downloading is kind of what it felt like to me. I know that you have answered some great questions and now I know more about it, but that's what it felt like. And I'm just wondering how, if there's a call for others from this board to participate more fully, or if there is an actual need for the standing committee. And how that has been given to the network itself.
I just want to address one of those points. It's absolutely not a download. This is an augment of things that you can do with the community. There's no downloading whatsoever in this. So if that's where your thoughts were, that's absolutely not what it is. And absolutely, the terms of reference change. There can and will be a call for more participation if that's the interest. Absolutely.
Director Kerr.
Thank you, Chair. And I was on the Table of Partners. Actually, I was part of the working group that set it up from the very beginning. And my view of this, the changes, is more representative of the board priorities. And I think it's a really efficient use of everybody's time and finances moving ahead. So I see this as nothing but a good thing.
Director Mawhinney.
Thank you, Chair. And I just had one sort of comment, and that was around maybe it's more a function of this committee if the board chooses to go this way, but something that was mentioned that the committee would be looking at is housing and how the housing service that we've created might be utilized in the future. And I would really like to see those types of discussions when we're talking about something which is regional in nature being discussed at a committee of the whole. So maybe that's something that can be referred from the health committee to the committee of the whole, but I think that there may be benefits to having all of the directors involved in some of these conversations.
Okay, still on receipt. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Thank you for the presentation, Aniko. Okay, B, that the chair and the corporate officer be authorized to execute contract number 2505.08 Pro 46018 with Island Health for a 3-year term expiring March 21st, 2027.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Director Chapman. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. C, that the board establish a committee of the board to address health, wellness, and safety throughout the regional district.
So moved.
Thank you. Second,
Second.
Director Kerr. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motions are carried. Community gas. Did you want to read this one, Director Lanyon?
Sorry, my agenda is stuck here. There we go. Yeah, I move that the report from the Chief Administrative Officer be received.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion's carried. B, Director Lanyon.
I'd like to move option B, that a further report with options for allocating Community Works gas tax funds be prepared for the board's consideration.
Second?
Second.
Discussion. Director Wally. Microphone, please.
Gas tax. So every municipality already receives their own gas tax funding, as we all know. The electoral areas gas tax funding is critical for electoral areas to maintain their infrastructure. Now, for example, Area A spent $40,000 of our gas tax to purchase a badly needed tanker truck for the Village Valley Fire Department. The south end of the village of Sayward doesn't have any hydrants. This truck is critical for them as it is for the valley. Then Area A put $160,000 our gas tax into our joint Valley Village Fire Service. Area A is also putting in $367,000 of our gas tax into Fire Hall number 2. This is for badly needed upgrades there that are underway currently. And this building houses the tanker and the other fire trucks. These respond to the village of Sayward, just like the valley when there's a fire, if there's a fire there. In addition, Area A spent $50,000 of our gas tax to rebuild the Sayward Legion's kitchen. Didn't meet code, been forced to shut down. Now the Legion is inside the village of Sayward. If Area A hadn't given the village of Sayward, well, the Legion, our gas tax money would now be an empty derelict building sitting there in the village. Area A put $12,000 of our gas tax to replace the items stolen from our local fish hatchery operated by the Rod and Gun Club in Sayward. That includes both the village and valley members. So there's a total of $629,000 of Area A's gas tax, direct benefit not only to the valley but also to the village of Sayward. And without Area A's gas tax, our Village Valley Fire Service would never meet code, would remain in disrepair. Currently, the equipment's out of date, boots leak. It just needs to be brought up to par. We only have 227 properties to tax in the valley. There's no possible way we can raise that kind of money without it. In addition, I used $40,000 of Area's gas tax to buy an electrical backup generator for our community hall. Now, at our last board meeting, I'm sure you'll all recall that this board approved $75,000 in Area A gas tax to fund our 20-cent contribution towards a grant application which is needed to upgrade the critical boardwalk roadway infrastructure in Cayuga. In the future, Area is going to need a lot more than that, maybe $100,000 or more, to rebuild the community hall in Sayward. Now, this same community hall, in Cayuga, is the place where the First Nations youngsters roller skate. They got no other place to do it. There's no roads there. And now it's in disrepair, needs to be rebuilt. Now, when I had mentioned this at the last board meeting, Director Lanyon had said, well, just use requisition. And I don't think perhaps the municipal directors all understand exactly how electoral area funding works. In a municipality, you folks can requisition whatever taxes you want, put it in a pot, and then spend it on whatever's required. Electoral areas can't do that. We have to have already in existence a specific service to requisition any money for. We don't have any discretionary funding at all. So think about this Cayuga situation at 75,000 that you approved. There's 20 taxable properties there. How could they possibly raise the 75,000? And even if they were all billionaires and said, who cares, we can afford it. First of all, we'd have to establish a local service area in Cayuga for a boardwalk service. Then we'd have to get electoral approval for it. It'd take months. By then, the grant application would be long gone. It just can't happen. We just absolutely need this stuff for our infrastructure. Now, like I say, Sayward with its 227 properties, same thing. There's no possible way we could raise that 629,000. And that 629,000, as I tried to point out, is a direct benefit to the village. It's not that we hoard it for ourselves. And I've saved that up over the years. We don't get much every year. I think we get $52 or $54 a person. So I save it up, and then when the big thing comes along, then I have it. For example, when the theft occurred on the fish hatchery, they didn't have any money to rebuild it, but I had that in reserves and I could do it. So I also want you to remember that every gas tax expenditure for electoral areas is vetted and approved by this board. It all comes here, you guys approve it. So once again, I want to emphasize that without this gas tax funding, we can't possibly afford to maintain our infrastructure. It's absolutely critical for us to have it. So I'm asking that this board defeat the motion Part B that will automatically leave the gas tax allocations exactly as they currently are and which they have been since this regional district was created. Thank you.
Anyone else? Director Lanyon first.
Sure. I can't directly refute anything you said. It's reasonable. I think in my case, I'm interested in learning more. And it may be that in the end, the conclusion is no changes are necessary. So I'll support the motion because I think it's a big pot of money, about $7 million that's been piling up there. And if there's some better options out there or some projects that are on the go that are, that provide region-wide benefit, I think we just want to look at them. So I'll leave it there. Thanks.
Next, Director Von Esch.
Thank you, Chair. We all need infrastructure funding, right? Is there a municipality around here that's doesn't need infrastructure funding? It's a huge issue for all of us. And the little that we do get for our electoral areas are critical. Cortez gets roughly $60,000 a year. Not a huge amount, but in a small community, that goes a long way. And if Edith could just put up the chart I sent. So this is just based on data from the province on the gas tax funding that we all get. Most of us around the table get it directly to our municipalities. Thank you. So Campbell River, you get 1.68 million. Gold River, 120,000. Sayward, 78,000. Tassus, 81. Zabala, 69. Just look at this funding that you're already getting directly to you as a municipality, and then look at the amounts that are currently allocated to electoral areas. If the province came to you as a municipality and said, hey, you know what, this gas tax funding that you're getting, we're going to actually pull that back. We're going to use it for regional initiatives that are going to benefit you. They're going to benefit, the region. In all honesty, how would you react to that? I just can't imagine you being like, yeah, that's a good idea. This funding is so critical. It's not a huge amount, and it makes a really big difference in our electoral areas.
Just for a point, if I can, a point of clarity, the gas tax is actually given to the region. So it's a misnomer of that it's federal too, it's not provincial, that the federal government is giving it to the EAs. They give it to the region, and then internally, regions decide how to allocate it internally. So it already is given to the region.
Right. And my point is that all the municipalities around the table, you already get gas tax funding. And imagine if the regional district even came to you and said, hey, can you give us some of that for some regional initiatives? You'd be like, hey, we'll spend it the way we want to spend it. So yes, this funding does come to the regional district. This is something for us all to decide, but I'm just asking you to be fair here and just do what you would do if you were in my position. And, I hear, Director Lanyon's like, this is just a report, let's move forward, but this is more staff time, this is a continued fight, we're just gonna get a report, and we're gonna be in the same place. And we can make a decision today to just be like, you know what, this is critical to these rural areas, let's keep it the way it is. So I just really urge folks around this table to defeat this motion and allow this gas tax funding to be spent in the rural areas that it has been intended since the beginning and really makes a huge difference. Thank you.
Okay, Director Rice.
Thank you, Chair. Just my comments. First of all, the other electoral areas do get a share of gas tax money from their regional districts. So that's something that has been in play for a long time. I understand that, specifically speaking, the regional district gets the gas tax money, but I believe that if we were to dig a little bit further, you get the gas tax money because there are the electoral areas that do not get any other funding. To address Director Lanyon's concerns, I think one of the things that I've learned very quickly in the 2 years that we've been working together is that each of the electoral areas are very different. I have big plans for the gas tax money that I currently have in our reserves. You don't know what my plans are because you're not the area director. I have a motion coming up where I'm going to be awarding a contract for water meters. There is still a very large portion of that contract that we need to find funding for to complete the project, and I'm going to be using gas tax money for that. I think if we were to go around the table, all of the directors have their own initiatives, and I believe that the way that we currently have it allocated by the population is the fair way of doing it. I listened to the Committee of the Whole meeting several times, and what I heard at the Committee of the Whole didn't convince me that there was a better way to spend money. It just sounded like we all wanted control of it. Now, again, please understand, the gas tax money, when you take a look at all of the funding streams that are out there in the province, electoral area D is one of the few that we have our own building service, we have all of those things. We can't participate and get money from the feds on, the housing accelerator because the rest of the regional district's not there. The only money that we have is the gas tax money, and I've used gas tax money wisely. I've sent it, to the Comox Valley to pay for their water infrastructure when they've asked for it. There was money that went last year for the drilling of a new well because they are running short on water. We've used gas tax money for the transit service. You don't know that staff have been working very hard with BC Transit on developing a plan for Glenmore Road. We should see that work going forward next year. That was a combination of Area D is going to be making a contribution, BC Transit's making a contribution, Modi's making a contribution. These are the things that I'm trying to do with my gas tax money. Thank you.
Director Mowini.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Director Rice. That was really insightful. I could tell you about the Area C gas tax fund and the issues that we're saving up for, and we have some expensive infrastructure that needs to be replaced. It's like a sewer system that apparently is beyond its due date, and yet it continues to function. And we need a water system in Q Cove so that we can, there's some really expensive ticket items that are on the books that need to have our gas tax funding spent on. However, I just wanted to bring up another couple of points, and I personally am really grateful that the gas tax funding was renewed. We are facing significant infrastructure deficits, and this plan is a way that we can address and plan to address these deficits. In September, we went to UBCM, and the SRD requested a meeting with the Minister of Municipal Affairs, and the meeting was specifically to discuss infrastructure deficits in rural areas. And so I just want you to recognize that that was a choice of the board just several months ago. And so when we look at that contract that we received recently for the Community Works Fund through UBCM, the increase in it was 1%, which is less than recent increases in CPI. So essentially, it means that the fund is shrinking as costs inflate and escalate. Seeking options to allocate these important infrastructure funds in municipal or regional initiatives would undermine the ability of electoral area directors to plan for and fund critical projects in the rural areas. And we already provide a lot to the region, and I'm really hoping that my fellow directors can understand the extreme trepidation that we as electoral area directors feel about this motion, and that you will vote against it, as I will be. And I also just wanted to say thank you to Director Vanesh for pointing out that if it's something that isn't needed, why would we ask for staff time to be spent on it? And I think that's something that has come up here from time to time, is the allocation of staff resources. And I think this is one that we could maybe consider not supporting. Thanks.
We're going to call the question. No, Director Sinnott.
I'm in favor of the motion because now I'm hearing everyone is ad hoc planning in 4 different electoral areas. We don't have an asset management plan, which subjects us to reactivity and crisis management. So if we're not setting a comprehensive regional plan, which would probably be using these funds, it makes me very uncomfortable proceeding without a report to sort of identify these issues and come up with a rational way to make sure that we're not sitting there with individual directors with their own little kitty, with their mind in the background and not working regionally. That is not aligned with our strategic objectives. That's all I have to say.
Director Rice.
Thank you, Chair. Just a comeback, nothing is ad hoc. What I've been planning has been planned for a long time. And if you go back and take a look at the history on the board, it was always intended that Area D's gas tax money was going to be used primarily for water infrastructure. And that's what I've done. So nothing ad hoc.
Okay, for the last word, Director Vanesh.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, just it feels really insulting that this is like some private kitty that we're spending on things that aren't aligned with the strategic priorities of this board. $140,000 this year got spent from Cortez's allocation towards access road for affordable housing. Is that fit within the priorities of this board? Yes. I'm looking at $50,000 towards building a public sports court. Does that fit within the public priorities of this board? It does. And it's insulting to say that. And honestly, with so much banter around staff time, that you want to continue this fight, when in all fairness, if you were all facing this, you would be reacting the same way as I am right now, and the other rural directors. Thank you.
Thank you. Call the question.
Guys, don't give us a hard time about using staff time. Come on.
And don't give us a hard time.
No.
Okay.
There's a disproportionality here, and that's all I'm saying about that.
Okay, calling the question. All in favor? Opposed? We have Director Rice, Director Wally, Director Vanesh, Director Davis, Director Mawhinney, and Director Lott. So that's 6 opposed. The motion is carried. Okay, we're going to skip number 3 for now and go to number 4. Support for recreation facilities. Director Wally. Your microphone, please.
Move receipt of the CAO report.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
Mr. Chair, if I might. I move that a committee comprising 2 municipal directors and 2 electoral area directors be established to further explore the current status of the Kelsey Centre, the Village of Sayward's aspirations for its future operation and maintenance, and that the following directors be appointed as members of the committee: Chair Baker, Director Wally, Director Lott, and Director Mawhinney. If I could have a second, or I'd speak to it.
Second.
Second.
Thank you.
Discussion?
So, Mr. Chair, when I asked all those questions this morning, appreciate the board's patience listening to them. One of the objectives I had in asking those was that even though the chief financial officer and CEO were present, I had anticipated that the Village of Sayward probably hasn't researched those critical issues. And I think by having a subcommittee, we can put together as a group 2 from municipalities, 2 from electoral areas, a list of questions that need to be answered before we go any farther in it, so we can inform our constituents what's really on the table here. There is the possibility that the Strathcona Gardens could be sold to the regional district. Mayor McDonald, when he was here, he wanted to sell it to us for $1.
Kelsey Center. Kelsey Center.
Kelsey Center. What did I say?
Strathcona Gardens.
Oh, I'm sorry. So many problems. But anyway, yes. So that's a possibility, and the village hasn't discussed it, and there's so many things that haven't been sorted out. So I think this would be a good way to examine it and come back to the board with the results of those questions so everybody would have a clear understanding of what the village really has in mind.
Any additional questions? Director Colburn?
I have a question, and this motion seems strange to me just because I know that there are things going on with the Kelsey Center, but I'm also very conscious coming from someone of my perspective about where is the village at with any of this, and can there be any? So without knowing that first and what their capacity is to do such, unless this is a attempt from the SRD to help that process along, I just feel strange to me.
I think the work is of the SRD, not the village. So it's a motion from the SRD to look at, let's say, a joint service between the two. So I don't know that there's much. I'm sure there's some participation, but I think the bulk of the work would come to the SRD on.
I also know that it requires a lot of staff to answer these questions because they know what's going on the ground. And if I tasked my staff with this right now, they would flip out.
Director Sinnott, then Director Kerr.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So my question is, this came sort of as a result of Recreation Review. It also comes out of Municipal Services Committee. It also comes because there might be an identifiable need to work with the Sayward Valley if we ever lose our pool during the construction phase, which is a risk potentially. I mean, there is seismic issues that could occur. So the idea was to investigate and look further in terms of regional recreation. Having said that, I'm just curious why the nomination of the particular members was done here as opposed to the traditional process of letting the chair decide and going back and forth with us with respect to interest. I have an interest because I'm on the Strathcona Gardens currently, and I've got an actual interest in recreation.
I think you might have to ask Director Wally on that, because the motion did, I think it had 4 blank spots, and I think he just populated it on his own.
I did.
Yeah.
Okay, Director Kerr, and then Director Wally.
Thank you, Chair. And my question was similar, or my comment was similar, that I think because of the divide in the Sayward Valley, that I think it's appropriate that if Chair Baker is going to be on the committee and Director Wally, that each of them get to choose a director, one electoral, and whatever Chair Baker wants to, rather than, so my amendment would be that choice, that blank be left up to Chair Baker to fill, rather than the way it was put forward.
That's fine with me, if you want to pick somebody else.
Who did you, I'd like to see, there's
So instead of Michael Lott.
Yeah, Director Lott.
no disrespect to Mr. Lott, but I would like to see Director Sinnott.
Yeah, that's acceptable to me. I mean, I do have sort of this comprehensive interest in the overall recreation. Thanks.
Okay. So we're still on discussion. We need
a second for that.
I'll second that motion.
discussion. All in favor? And then opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
That was a motion to replace Director Sinnott.
That's correct.
I think that was a friendly, yeah.
I'm not sure. That's what it was.
I thought it was a friendly.
Yeah, I think that was a friendly, yeah. Yeah, the motion's
Motion's
passed.
passed.
So, Mr. Chair, item C then is deleted.
Item C is deleted.
Yes. It was conditioned.
Okay. D, Director Mawhinney.
Thank you, Chair. I did provide slightly different wording to Edith, so I will move that whereas the SRD board has received hundreds of items of correspondence from concerned Area C residents regarding Area C being added to the Strathcona Garden Service through a service expansion. And whereas an identified SRD strategic priority is to proactively communicate and engage with our communities, that should the upcoming additional regional recreation participation report identify Area C for inclusion in the Strathcona Gardens Commission, an Area C referendum be held prior to action being taken regarding Area C joining the Strathcona Gardens Service through service expansion or other means, and that the referendum is funded through the Area C feasibility service.
So just for my clarity, thanks. You've changed the wording, so is that to say that if the study comes back, that it would for sure be a referendum? Because that there may be options of joining a service that doesn't result in a referendum. So is this motion committing the board to a referendum should the study come back and say, just for example, Area C is to join the Strathcona Gardens? Is that your intention?
Yeah, I think that
So-
from my understanding, there's two options in a service expansion, and there's a referendum or no referendum, and I'm asking the board to say that, in fact, yes, we will offer the opportunity to your region, to your electoral area, to have a referendum. Does that?
I'm just saying that commits the board to that. So a report's going to come back with options. And if this passes, that eliminates all options but one.
And the other options would be only
I don't know what they
joining
are right
the
now.
Area C, joining the service without a referendum.
I think it's premature to assume what those options are.
Okay, may I speak to this, Chair?
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. My understanding is that there is another report coming on additional recreation participation. The process here at the board is to receive a report and then consider voting on the recommendations which are included, and that's why my motion is offered in light of this process. Because if there is a service expansion which is being considered, there's an option for a referendum at that point. And I really want the board to understand, and I think the board can see that they've received a lot of correspondence from community members, and that showing that the board supports the community and listening to the wishes of the community. I don't know what the results of a referendum would be, but I think it's really important that if there is, what I'm asking for, and the intent of this motion is before there is a vote on including Area C in a service expansion and incorporating Area C into the Strathcona Gardens, that there would be a referendum. That's what I'm asking for.
So, Mr. Chair, if I may, and Mr. Yates can speak to this, I believe there's a legislative prohibition to the board committing to that at this point.
Mr. Yates?
Well, just by way of explanation, Mr. Chairman, under the statute, the regional district cannot commit to how it will seek elector approval until after it has given third reading to a bylaw. So, I mean, the board can pass a motion, but it isn't going to commit the board to following through. The board has the ability and the obligation to determine how it will seek elector approval after third reading of the bylaw, if there is a bylaw.
Director Chapman?
Thank you, Chair. A question to staff. If it's deemed, if the study says Area C should be included, would the original participants also have a vote on whether or not Area C should come in or not?
There is a scenario that would likely be an option. I just don't want to contaminate it at this point. Like, let's bring the report with the options forward, and then we can discuss what those are.
Okay, so we'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? 5, 6, 7, 8 opposed. Put your hands up again, please. Director Rice, Director Colburn, Director Kerr, Director Sinnott, Director Dahl, Director Lanyon, Director Lott, Director, what's your last name again? Cutie? Director Cutie. Opposed. The motion is defeated. Okay, now going to number 3. No, we had to switch them. So number 3,
I would move that the CEO's report be received.
thank you.
Second.
Discussion?
Yeah, I have some discussion, Mr. Chair. Just simply to say that, in my humble opinion, I think that the committee that we've just created should be allowed to come back to the board with its findings, which will be beneficial to the consultant we hire to do this report. Because if you'll recall, and as Dr. Dahl pointed out, all those answers were the same to very many different questions, simply because the village hasn't considered those things yet. And that was the point I was trying to make. So this committee's intent is to figure out exactly what needs to be considered and come back to the board with the results of those considerations. And then I think it'd be more appropriate to do a further staff report. That's my opinion.
Okay, still on receipt. All in favor of receipt? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. B,
So, Mr. Chair, I would move that we defer this until, or we could table it, defer it, same thing, until the committee reports back to the board.
Second.
So if I may, Mr. Chair, just to be clear, because motions are often direction for staff commitment. So we've now created this subcommittee, and I just want to maybe verbalize it that there's a commitment from the board for staff to work on this, because that's kind of what this motion was. And deferring it is kind of, to me, the opposite of the subcommittee. So I just wanted to be clear that whether it's this motion or the last motion or both of them, that there's direction to look at a joint service of these two at the Kelsey Center.
If I might respond, Mr. Chair, does item B anticipate hiring a consultant to do this, or just simply staff working with the subcommittee?
Well, we have another motion that is going to use the services of a consultant on the Strathcona Gardens, and my thought was I would incorporate this into that, obviously taking into consideration what the subcommittee, what comes out of that.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any greater harm because you've passed the subcommittee to passing this. I think they're one and the same and very similar, so, but passing one and not passing the other is a bit of a mixed message.
My concern is, Mr. Chair, that these consultants aren't free. And after the committee comes back, maybe we need to hire a consultant. But I still think it's premature. I mean, the staff has every opportunity to work with the subcommittee and figure these things out. But a consultant, yes, perhaps we've hired them anyway for Strathcona Gardens. But I don't know what these guys cost. What did we pay for the first report? 10,000?
Well, it's apples and oranges compared to what this would be, so.
Yeah. So anyway, I don't think we need to spend the money right yet. That's my opinion on it.
so you have a motion on the floor to defer.
Yes.
Okay, and we had a second, was Director Rice. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 opposed. Keep your hands up again, please. Director Colburn, Kerr, Director Jack, Director Sinnott, Director Dahl, Director Lanyon, Director Chapman, and myself. So back to B, 8 opposed. The motion is defeated. Back to B, that the Kelsey Center be included in additional participation report for electoral area A and the village of Sayward.
I'll move that.
Second?
Second.
Can I move it with an addition on it? Including submissions from the committee that we just established, because then that does both, that ties them.
Okay.
I'll accept that if I'm the seconder.
Thank you.
You agree too? Further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Director Rice, Director Wally opposed. Okay. Number 5, Director Wally.
I move receipt of CO's report of the agricultural land reserve application, Stoke Creek Road, Sayward, BC.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is
And
carried.
I'd further move, Mr. Chair, that res number SRD 924 be amended to read as follows, that agricultural land reserve application ALR 1A24 Postuma be authorized to proceed to the Agricultural Land Commission for inclusion of lands known as north half of southwest 1/4 section 34 township 6 Sayward District as indicated on the proposed land swap plan attached to the staff report dated January 19, 2024, and that the inclusion application be resubmitted to the Agricultural Land Commission.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Director Mawhinney, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
And C, Mr. Chair, that the regional district proceed with an application with inclusion component of agricultural land reserve application ALR 1A24 Postuma.
Second.
Director Von Esch, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Number 6, do you folks want to take a break first? Okay. 3 o'clock. Take a break until 3 o'clock.
I'm feeling insecure. If you guys could do a security sweep.
I'm feeling my lower half is going to sleep.
I don't think there's any harm in it.
No.
No, it's the same.
I know.
And then she added the.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's all.
The other thing worked out the way you wanted it.
Yeah, it's not a, it's, yeah, it's not a deal breaker, yeah.
Good enough.
Because it added the comments from the subcommittee, which is, yeah, I think it's good.
Good. I'm happy with it. Wolfgang, hombre, tengo algo mostrarte luego. Ven aquí, tengo algo mostrarte. Tengo algo mostrarte.
Algo que me va a mostrar. Mostrar, you know mostrar?
Mostrar.
El verbo mostrar.
Mostrar no es demostrar.
No, mostrar is to show.
To show, yeah.
Demostrar is to demonstrate.
Yeah. Entonces algo quiero mostrarte.
Mostrarte, exacto. O mostrarle.
Ok, un momentito.
Oh my gosh.
Have you seen it?
No, I have not.
Whoops, I got the wrong one. Turn the sound on here.
What is he trying to do now? Is he trying to expel all the Latinos that do the hard work in the States?
Come on.
Uno borracho, un pecador de la pradera, nacido después de los dolores, borracho perdido, en un coche, pasó la mera histérica, no puedo.
This doesn't work? I think this is crazy. Where did you find that?
¿Qué le pasa a usted? Dice que más mangami, una cosa redondita, y dice de la mera histérica, eso es el volante.
I'll turn it off.
You should send it to me. I want to see that. The volume this doesn't work?
Apparently not. I don't know.
Director Jack, you'd have to make a motion to reconsider.
Do you need a seconder on that, Mr. Chair?
Not a seating.
He just has to make a motion.
Yeah, Director Jack, you have to make the motion to reconsider.
Move to reconsider the gas tax.
Director Wally, second that. Discussion? Director Lanyon? Oh, sorry, I thought you were...
Sorry, I'm just curious, is this because we have a vote that left the room? Or what's the reason here for considering?
You didn't understand.
That's true, we did lose a vote.
Tom, is there procedures, Tom, is there procedures by to reconsider at the same meeting?
So, Mr. Chairman, if I may, the motion to reconsider a previously made motion has to be made by someone who voted with the prevailing side, if you will. So someone who voted, that motion passed, so it has to be a person who voted with the majority to pass that motion that moves the motion to reconsider.
He was in the majority, Mr. Yates.
Correct.
Now, we've also lost Director Dahl.
Right. So the board could decide at this point not to reconsider until the full board is back. That is an option for the board.
Right?
Either way, it's been adopted. Now or next week.
Call the question, Mr. Chair.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. All in favor of reconsideration? Opposed?
Let's count them.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Hands up. I can't write that fast.
Sorry. Director Colburn, Director Kerr, Director Sinnott, Director Lanyon, Director Chapman, and Director Baker.
So 6 opposed. The motion to reconsider passes, I believe.
Okay,
Call the question, Mr. Chair.
on the reconsideration motion, are we looking to defer this until we have a full board?
No, we just passed the motion, Mr. Chair.
No? Okay. All in favor?
I have a question. But I also have a question. If I vote in favor, can it be brought again for another reconsideration, or is there a limit on reconsiderations?
There is no limit on reconsideration. You could bring it back again, can you not?
Under your procedure bylaw, I believe you cannot. Once a motion has been reconsidered, it cannot be reconsidered.
That's what I understood also.
Okay,
Can I read the motion, Mr. Chair?
please.
So the motion that passed that we were reconsidering stated that a further report with options for allocation community gas tax funds be prepared for the board's consideration.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor.
Second. Just, is that what we're supposed to do?
Yeah.
Bring it on the floor so we can vote on it, right?
Okay, discussion. Director Sinnott?
Well, I appreciate there's passions about the table about this. I think this is not going to improve the collegiality at the table. And we're asking for a report so that we can look at further options to improve regional connectiveness. And I would ask people to consider carefully their vote. Thank you.
Anyone else? Director Wally?
Just to make sure every director understands, if we defeat this motion, then the gas tax stands exactly the way it's always been. Thank you.
Yeah, the motion was for report and nothing further. Right, all in favor? For the report?
Sorry, Mr. Chair, you might want to read the motion out to be clear here, so that people understand what they're voting on.
You read it, please.
So the motion is that a further report with options for allocating community works and gas tax funds be prepared for the board's consideration. That's the motion.
Okay, so all in favor? Opposed?
Names, please.
Director Rice, Director Wally, Director Von Esch, Director Davis, Director Mawhinney, Director Lott, and Director Jack.
So 7 opposed.
7 opposed,
That's what I count. Out of 6.
so 7 opposed and 7. The motion has failed.
Thank you, Board.
So a question on process. Is it appropriate we have this vote or just had the vote when we don't have a full board? What are we going to do when we have a vote we don't like, wait for people to go to the washroom and then ask reconsideration and vote when they're in the washroom? I mean, what are we doing here?
Director, if I may, Chair, Director Chapman, if Director Dahl was here, it would still fail if he voted in favor of it. Yeah, because it would be a tie.
Only takes 7 votes to defeat it.
Yeah.
So then the reconsideration would have failed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It would have failed.
Regardless, it's done.
It's wrong what happened there, you guys. Perfectly right.
I'm uncomfortable with how we're doing this, just for the record.
Where are we, Mr. Chair?
I agree. We're on number 6. Cortez Fire Protection Extension. Director Von Esch,
I move that the report from the CAO be received.
discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. B,
I would make the motion, but I do have a question. I'll make the motion first. I move that an amendment bylaw be prepared for further consideration by the board with respect to the proposal to include a portion of Tiber Bay into the southern Cortez fire protection area.
Second.
Director Mawhinney, second. Discussion? Was that Director Davis? Sorry.
My question was, this is great. We're expanding the service. Tiber Bay's been needing the service for a long time. Can we get this done in time to have the tax requisition for the next cycle include these new residences? Question for staff or Mike, perhaps.
Mr. Chairman, I can comment on this if you wish, and we'll bring back a report and a bylaw that will get into all of that, and there are some, I won't say complications, but there's a process that must be followed. And whether or not it can be done in time for this to be considered for these people to be contributing to the taxes in 2025 rather, that deadline has already passed, passed at the end of October. So what we'd be looking at is whether this would be in place for 2026 for these people.
Thank you.
If they're in favor, and we don't know that they are.
Any further questions? Director Chapman?
I have a question. It's fine to expand the service and so forth, et cetera, but I have a problem with an outside area coming into an already established area. The established area has paid for the buildings, paid for the equipment, and now someone is just coming in and just sharing the costs and not sharing any of the capital costs that are already incurred by that already established area. And I would like to see that addressed, and there's different ways of doing it. One would be 2 bylaws, one for the new area as a local service to fund their proportionate share of the accumulated amortized cost over 10 or 15 or 20 years, so that they are repaying the existing established service for the capital cost already incurred. I just think it's unfair that, someone goes up, someone says, hey, nice car and all that, I want a partner on it, and I'll just pay the operating expenses. And they haven't shared any of the capital costs. I think it's unfair to the area that's already established.
Thank you. Director Wally?
From Area A's perspective, I feel that if Area B residents are happy with it, that's all that is required.
Director Von Esch?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, this is something that's coming from the Tiber Bay residents. Obviously, they want the fire protection and has the support of the fire department. And I've heard nothing as far as it being unfair from other residents. And I imagine moving forward, these new residents would pay for the capital costs and ongoing maintenance as per their part.
Director Rice, and then Director Chapman.
Thank you, Chair. Just a question to staff. How would this be any different than a new home being built that gets included into the fire protection area? Because that's what this looks like. It just looks like, you know, there are additional properties being included into the fire protection area.
Director Chapman.
Madam Chair, all I was is mentioning is that it may be unfair to the area already established. So they may have a different viewpoint of it. If they have a different viewpoint on it, God bless them, wish them well.
Okay, call the question. Mr. Yates, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, Mr. Chairman, that typically capital assets are finance through debt, a debt structure which is paid off over time. And people who join a service after it's started typically participate in that debt. In this case, the only debt I believe may be the fire trucks. If there's any debt left on them, I'm not sure. But typically, assets like that are debt funded until the debt is retired, at which point they need to be replaced anyway. So I'm not too sure exactly what the issue might be. But that's why they have an elected representative for the area to tell them if this is a fair thing or not. So.
Okay, call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Number 7, Director Rice.
I'd like to move that the report from the Chief Administration Officer be received.
Second.
Director Colburn, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
B, I'd like to move that the Aegis Risk Management Limited be advised to proceed with updating the Electoral Area D Fire Protection Study, and that it be funded through the Electoral Area D Fire Protection budget.
Second.
Director Von Esch, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Number 8, Director Rice.
Northern Area D Universal Water Meter Contract, I'd like to move that the report from the Chief Administration Officer be received.
Second.
Director Lott was first. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
I'd like to move item B, that the Chair and Corporate Officer be authorized to execute a contract with Edged Excavating Limited to install the water meters for Phase 1 of the Northern Area D water meter project based on the November 15th, 2024 report from the Chief Administration Officer.
Second.
Director Wally, discussion? Director Mawhinney.
Thank you, Chair. I think I may have missed when you said discussion on the movement of receipt. I had a question for staff about this because I read the report and it suggests that it's likely that individual water usage will drop when they get their meters installed, perhaps through homeowners being able to adjust their usage, but there's also mention of leakage in the system. And after Phase 1, it says there will be approximately 200 homes remaining unmetered. So I was curious if the costs of bulk unmetered water would be distributed amongst those 200 properties, and would that mean that they may be taking financial responsibility for leakages in the system?
Thank you. Through to the chair. We have yet to update our bylaw and review that to how we are going to be charging the new water services once the meters are in. So that will be a forthcoming report in the new year.
Great, thank you.
Director Rice.
Thank you, Chair. I do have a few comments before we vote on the motion. First of all, this has been a long time waiting. Folks have been promised that universal water meters were going to come in 2018, and they didn't. I do want to just, again, draw attention that in 2017, the homeowners paid $402 for water. Between 2018 to 2021, that cost went up to $11.29. So this is something that has been quite important for the community. The other thing that I want to highlight is that there's lessons learned from this. In 2018, the SRD offered to fund this universal water meter program themselves. And that actual offer was not taken up by the board at that time. In the process, what they did was they applied for grants. There were 2 previous grant applications that were denied. Thank you to the hard work of the CEO and our MLA of that time, Michelle Babchuk. They were able to pull together very quickly in 23 last year a 2.8 water meter grant, and we were able to go public with that award in the summertime. The reason why I say that there's opportunities here to take a look at lessons learned is that this project is now almost $1 million more than what it was in 2018 when the SRD board offered to pay for it through gas tax money. So I realize that there are 200 connections out there that they still don't know where they are. I've already had a chat with engineering staff. I realize that they'll be coming back with a further report. But I do want to make it very clear to the public record that we need to get this project done. So I will be committing whatever gas tax monies I have to finalizing this project next year because we want to get all of those water meters in. It's about time these folks get a little bit of reprieve on the water. Another thing, and I don't want to draw a lot of attention to it, but these homeowners are exactly the same homeowners that are in the Campbell River Fire Protection Area. So even though they got hit with billing up to 2021, they got a slight reprieve in 2022. 2023 taxes, again, 31% increase on fire that I'm still working on. So we do have to be mindful that these folks have had enough. Thank you.
Okay, call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Surge Narrow Post Office License Renewal. Director Mawhinney.
Move that the report from the Chief Administrative Officer be received.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. B.
I'll move that a modification agreement be prepared to extend the term of the Canada Post license for part of the Surge Narrows Wharf facility by 1 year.
Second.
Director Colburn, discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. D, Director Sinnott.
I'll move that the report from the Chief Administrative Officer regarding the calendar of board and committee meetings for 2025 be received.
Second.
Director Colburn, discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. B.
That the board's calendar of meetings for 2025 be approved based on the schedule attached to the November 4th, 2025 report from the CAO.
Second.
Second, Director Colburn, discussion. Director Wally.
Yeah, just a question for staff here. That health committee that we just approved, that's not on here, right?
No, it wouldn't be on here. No.
It wouldn't be on here?
No.
Oh.
There's things too like Natural Resources Committee that aren't here. So yeah, we wouldn't commit because they're a little bit of a irregular schedule.
Great. All in favor? Did you want to speak? Director Colburn? No?
I do, and I just want to reiterate what I said last year, and having the 2 regional boards in a month is extremely favorable to someone in a position like I am. These meetings are long, and then we have, people leaving the meetings because they are so extensive, and I just found it worked better the way it was 2 years ago, but I'm one of 14, so.
Director Wally?
Yeah, I just want to say that that's what we have alternates for. If you're not going to be here, bring your alternate.
Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. B. That was B. That was B. Director Rice, number 11.
Appointments to the Vancouver Island Regional Board. I'd like to move receipt of that the report from the Chief Administration Officer be received.
Second.
Director Mawhinney, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
Just a, Chair, discussion item. If anybody else wants to sit on the Regional Vancouver Island Library Board, I'm happy to step down, but I'm just throwing that out there.
I'd nominate Susan Sinnott then for that board.
That'd be,
Yeah, needs to be an electoral area. You need to be an electoral area director.
I would move that I would like to appoint Director Rice to the Vancouver Island Regional Library Board for 2025, and that Director Vanesh be appointed as the alternate representative.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion's carried. And we need an alternate. That was the alternate? Missed that. Okay, number 12, Director Lanyon.
Why? You do it.
Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Number 13, Director Wally.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that the report from the Chief Administrator Officer be received on the Sayward Fish and Game Club modification agreement.
Second.
Go ahead, Director Wally.
Yes, just simply to say I have a subsequent motion, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so on receipt, all in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
I'd move, Mr. Chair, option A, that a modification agreement be prepared for the board's consideration, that it would extend the deadline for funding fish hatchery improvements by the Sayward Fish and Game Club.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion's carried. Number 14, Director Sinnott.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'll make a motion under the energy efficiency improvements at Strathcona Gardens that the report from the CAO be received.
second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. B,
And I'll make a further motion that the Chair and Corporate Officer be authorized to execute a contract with EL Solutions, it looks like, for energy efficiency improvements at Strathcona Gardens Recreation Center in accordance with the October 30th, 2024 report from the CAO.
Second.
Director Von Esch, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Director Kerr, you're up.
Thank you, Chair, and I move receipt of the report.
Second.
Director Davis, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. B,
And I move that the Chair and Corporate Officer be authorized to execute a contract with EI Solutions Limited for,
no, wrong item.
wrong one, dropped, okay.
15B.
15B. I move that BC Hydro be granted a license to install 4 EV charging stations at the Strathcona Gardens Recreation Complex in accordance with November 15, 2024 report from the Chief Administrative Officer.
Second.
Director Chapman, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion's carried. C,
And that the regional district work with the BC Hydro to determine if there are additional locations at the Strathcona Gardens for which EV charging stations would be appropriate.
Second, and I'll make a comment on that. That motion arises from my request to staff after looking at the locations and discussing the appropriateness of creating additional locations, maybe adjacent to the RCMP offices, because a number of locations for charging are not necessarily safe for particular members of the community that are more vulnerable, females, elderly, and such. And hopefully we can find some more visible locations that allow for late night charging with some safety aspects in mind.
okay, Director Von Esch.
I'm wondering if we're going to be approaching BC Hydro for EVs charging stations at Strathcona Gardens, whether it would be also appropriate to have that conversation be and other places within the regional district.
Mr. Chair, okay, Renee can speak to that.
Good afternoon, directors. Yes, we're actively working with BC Hydro on exploring other locations that would be appropriate for that funding.
Okay, all in favor? Opposed?
This was just Campbell River and Area D?
Just Campbell River and Area D. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. C is Campbell River and Area D only.
We just did it.
We just did C.
16.
That's right. 16, Director Mawhinney.
I would like to move receipt of the Notice of Crown Land Referrals Report from the Chief Administrative Officer.
Discussion? Director Davis.
Once again, I just want to flag an issue here, and this will probably help them out along the way. There's some areas of karst in Memikay and White River area, and if they were to try to site turbines on them, they could have stability issues. This happened before at Gibson Plateau near Port Alice, where the entire project was basically dead on the vine because they tried to locate it on karst. And you don't want to build something like this and then have them collapse in a windstorm. So I'm just flagging it, that's all. And that doesn't apply to the entire area, but there's areas within. I looked at the map that some of those won't fly. So, yeah, it's my comment.
Thank you.
I think we have to have a motion to take those comments, don't we?
Were there the comments that you wanted us to include in the response back?
Yes.
Okay. I think we can. Is there too much for a motion, if you will, or can we take the recording and extract those comments and we can put them in? Do you have something condensed?
I think you can just use the comments.
Okay, yeah.
That's
I'm
why I
happy
say
to
I'm
do that.
flagging it. I want them to make sure when they're looking at the geology of that area to look at individual siting of the turbines. Like most of them are fine, but some of them won't be.
Yeah, okay.
So, yeah, thanks.
We can do that without a motion. Yeah.
Great.
Okay. Number 17. We haven't voted on it yet. 16. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. 17, interim housing report, needs report. Director Mawhinney.
I'll move that the 2024 Interim Housing Needs Report be received from the Chief Administrative Officer.
Second.
Discussion? Director Vonesh.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate staff adding the comments that we requested last time, and just want to point out for the public record that the report, following the formula from the province, says that Cortez needs 2.43 more rental units in the next 20 years, which is just way off base. And again, my concern with this is that the province uses this to help make decisions on funding for affordable rental units. So just flagging that for the public. Thank you.
Okay, further discussion? Director Mawhinney.
Thank you, Chair. I wanted to say thank you to staff for writing the preamble and providing more context for those who do read the interim housing needs report. And I would echo the comments that Director Vonesh just made, which is really that in 20 years, it thinks that that report, due to the formula that has come from the province, that Area C would need 6 new rental units. But if you look at the graph, the rental units have actually been decreasing over time. So it's definitely not, I don't consider it to be a very accurate representation.
Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. B.
I'll move that the board receive the 2024 Interim Housing Needs Report as Appendix G to the 2022 Housing Needs Report for Strathcona Regional District, electoral areas A, B, C, and D.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. 18, Director Davis.
Second.
Director Goulburn, discussion?
Just a little backup on this, Mr. Chair. The early earthquake warning and tsunami system, it's a contract that NRCan provided full funding for to participate in the Connected Coast project. The current operator contractor for that was not able to fulfill that contract, so that has been transferred into City West. And to close out that contract with Baylink, we need to terminate their services.
Director Colburn.
And just as a question, do we have to renew our contract with City West in order to include this in that and have them as a part of that funding agreement?
We don't, in that the funding has already come to us, just Baylink can't fulfill it, so we will just fulfill it through our Connected Coast project with City West. We don't need an agreement, no. We need an agreement to cease our, with Baylink, but we don't need one for City West.
And it will still have the same outcome in the end.
yeah,
Thank you.
Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Director Davis, B.
Number 19, request for financial assistance, electoral.
No.
Oh, sorry.
We didn't do B yet.
Yeah, the chair and corporate officer be authorized to execute the termination agreement with Baylink Network Incorporated for the installation of the earthquake early warning system extended network.
Do I have a second? Second. Director Wally, discussion? Director Colburn?
I have another one. Do we have to inform the funder that has happened?
Not the funder, no.
Perfect, thank you.
All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Number 19, Director Van Esch.
I'll move that the report on request for financial assistance, electoral area B, be received from the Chief Administrative Officer.
Director Colburn, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
I move that the board approve grants in aid to be paid from the electoral area B grant and aid budget as follows. One, $6,000 to the Friends of Cortez Island to assist with the Dillon Creek Wetland Enhancement Program. Two, $5,000 to the Cortez Radio Society to assist with the Cortez Island Residence Project. Three, $3,000 to the Linnea Farm Society to assist with Environment Art for Children program. Four, $4,500 to the Cortez Community Health Association to assist with after-school youth programming. Five, $4,000 to the Cortez Island School Parent Advisory Council to assist with the Accessible Hot Lunch program. Six, $2,500 to the Cortez Museum and Archive Society to assist with From the Ground Up exhibition. And seven, $3,500 to the Cortez Island Academy Society to assist with FOCU Cortez literacy programming.
Second.
Director Mowini, discussion? Director Davis?
Oh, sorry, I just lost it. I just had a question. What's Cortez Island Residence Project?
All the grant applications. So this is part of the feedback that the board presented was like we'd like to see all the grant applications that come in, whether I think they should be approved or not. So one of the things I did this year based on that feedback was to include all the grant applications. So the details for that project and all the projects that aren't getting funded are in the attached report.
So this is in regard to the community radio station?
The one for the Cortez Radio Society, yes.
Okay, thanks.
Director Wally, and then Director Sinnott.
Despite my undying support for electoral areas, is Linnea Farms eligible? Didn't we go through this 100 times before?
We went through with gas tax. They weren't eligible on a gas tax, I think a heat pump application, but a grant and aid there.
Grant and aids they are, okay.
Director Sinnott.
Yeah, I mean, the report from staff highlights that the request may not align with policy criteria. So could I get more detail on what the concern may be? And I think I've had discussions with the CAO about maybe creating a regional service on arts and culture potentially in the future, and maybe bring that back for a report.
Yeah, so if I can, Mr. Chair, the comment we make on it is the policy about providing financial assistance to senior levels of government. And so providing funding to the PAC for a hot lunch program may not align with that policy.
So perhaps the director moving this could explain to me why they think the board should go around their own policy.
Sure, yeah. The provincial government doesn't provide an accessible hot lunch program. It's been identified as a need that the Cortez students, especially some of them, that would help their education. 30% of the students at the school come from Klahoose First Nation. It's, identified need and a good project for students learning on Cortez.
Okay, call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Number 20, Director Mowini.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to move that the requests for financial assistance electoral area C report from the CAO be received.
Second.
Director Colburn, discussion? All in vote, Director Sinnott?
Again, I raised the issue with respect to things like operating costs and insurance. I realize in small communities that these are serious issues, but if not-for-profits are not able to get local support for their initiatives, then it's not good practice that we be funding ongoing operating costs as a government body with taxpayer-forced dollars. So I'm going to vote against this just because the content of the request.
This is just on receipt.
Eventually after receipt, if they're going to approve it.
On receipt, all in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. B,
I will move that the board approve grants and aid to be paid from the electoral area C grant and aid budget as follows: $2,301 to the Quadra Island Climate Action Network Society to assist with 2025 insurance costs, and $3,760 to the Surge Narrows Community Association to assist with 2025 insurance costs.
Second.
Director Von Esch, second. Discussion. Director Mowini.
Thank you, Chair. Both of these organizations that are listed here are really doing great work and very involved in the community, not just on Quadra Island, but also, as you can see, this is the Surge Narrows Community Association as well. And I think one of my first things that I brought to this board after I arrived was trying to figure out a way to access insurance support for nonprofits, because it's one of the main things that they struggle with funding. And I was hoping that maybe we could fund it through like an access through the Municipal Insurance Association or something like that, but the report came back negative. So I think that these are really valuable and important community systems that are in place, and they really need the support.
All in favor? Opposed? You got 2 opposed. You got Director said 3 opposed. Oh, Director Kerr, Senate, and Director Chapman.
4 opposed.
Okay. Motion passes. Director Mowini.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to move receipt of the report on economic development funding for the Discovery Islands Chamber of Commerce.
Second.
Director Colburn, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. B, wait a moment, please.
Mr. Chairman, I have an amendment to item B, and I think it should read the Discovery Island Chamber of Commerce rather than Quadra Island Chamber of Commerce.
Agreed. That's what I was going to say when I said it out loud.
Sorry.
May I go ahead with the motion?
Please.
Chair, thank you. That the board approve an economic development grant for the Discovery Islands Chamber of Commerce in the amount of $1,200 to assist with costs associated with the development of a tourism survey for Quadra Island to be paid from the Electoral Area C Economic Development Service budget.
Second.
Director Von Esch, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Bylaws, number 1, Director Wally.
Bylaw number 127, cost sharing for land use planning, that report from the CEO be received.
Second.
Second.
Director Von Esch, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. B,
Mr. Chair, I'd further move that no action be taken with respect to bylaw number 127.
Second.
Director Mowini, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Number 2, Director Wally.
Bylaw number 547, Seaward Area Fire Protection Service, that the report from the CEO be received.
Second.
Director Von Esch, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. B.
I'd further move that bylaw number 547 being the Sayward Valley Fire Protection Local Service Area Establishment Bylaw 1990, Amendment number 5 be now reconsidered, finally passed and adopted.
Second.
Director Morwini, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Director Morwini, number 3.
Thank you, Chair. I would move that the bylaw number 573 Electoral Area C Parkland Designation Report from the CAO be received.
Second, Director Wally, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. B.
That bylaw number 573, being a bylaw to designate land as community park within Electoral Area C, be now introduced and read a first time.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. C.
That the rules be suspended and bylaw number 573 be given second and third readings.
Second.
Director Von Esch, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. D.
That bylaw number 573, being Electoral Area C Parkland Designation Bylaw 2024, be reconsidered, finally passed, and adopted.
Director Wally, discussion?
I have a subsequent, Chair.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, after we vote on this
After?
one. Yeah.
All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Subsequent?
Thank you, Chair. That staff bring a wharf usage regulation and fee structure bylaws to the Electoral Area System Services Committee for review.
Okay. Do we need a motion on that? Yeah.
That a motion. That was both trying to be a motion.
That was good, okay.
Do you mind repeating the
Do I
motion?
have a second?
Yeah, I can repeat it. That staff bring wharf usage regulation and fee structure bylaws to the Electoral Area Services Committee for review.
Second.
Discussion? Director Senate?
Who is going to administer this? Is that part of the bylaw? Do we need to report first to see who's going to administer this? I'm kind of confused. I used to work as a wharfinger. I understand how to collect fees.
Oh, you were a Wharfinger, wow. Yeah, basically, planning staff will bring back a report looking at the fees and charges, and I think with the intent of looking at how we can recover some costs on wharfs.
Good luck.
Yeah, no, I know.
Yeah, I agree. Okay.
Take him out.
All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Director Chapman, number 4.
On, sorry, I was skipping ahead on the agenda. Where are we at?
Sorry, bylaw number 4, bylaw 587.
Bylaw 587, that the report from the Chief Administrative Officer be received.
Second.
Director Rice, discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. B, please.
That bylaw 587 being a bylaw to amend the procedure limits applicable to the redevelopment of the Strathcona Gardens Recreation Complex be now introduced and read a first time.
Second?
Second.
Thank you, Director Senate. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. C.
That the rules be suspended and bylaw number 587 be given second and third readings.
Second.
Director Senate, discussion? All in favor? Opposed?
That bylaw 587 being purchasing authority delegation bylaw 2023, amendment number 1 be reconsidered, finally passed and adopted.
Second.
Director Senate, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Correspondence.
Chair, I would move to pull 1, 4, and 5, please.
1, 4, and 5.
So I'll move receipt of 2 and 3.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Director Von Esch, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion's carried. Okay, Director Mulwiney, number 1.
Thank you, Chair. I would move receipt of the correspondence regarding child welfare and adoption.
Second.
Director Colburn, discussion? Director Mulwiney?
Thank you, Chair. This correspondence, which we're almost at the end of the month now, proclaiming November as Adoption Awareness Month, and it's including a request for our board to share certain links and resources with our constituents. I think that being adopted and included in a family is powerful, and it can be life-changing, and I'd really like to see us sharing these resources with our communities. So I do have a follow-up motion following receipt, and yeah, that's all.
Okay, on receipt, all in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I would move that the correspondence regarding child welfare and adoption be referred to the Strathcona Community Health Network, that it include functioning links, and that staff share these resources through the SRD's social media channels.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. One opposed? That was you. Director Chapman's opposed. Okay. Number 4.
Move receipt of correspondence item number 4, the BC Hydro meeting at UBCM.
Second.
Director Colburn, discussion? Director Mulwiney?
Thank you, Chair. I just have a comment, and that is that it's not about the correspondence, but that the correspondence is inoperable. There are several links which are embedded in the texts of the email, and then fortunately they are no longer functional links. So I'm just wondering, sort of a request to staff, if there's a way to include correspondence which could retain the operability of links which are embedded.
I'm not certain, but we will work on that.
Okay. All in favor? Oh, wait, Director Colburn.
I'm just going to put it out there for public record that when we get correspondence back about our UBCM meetings with ministers, often they are completely missing the mark on the topics that we had gone to them with. I'm looking at my speaking notes from UBC or from our UBCM meetings, and things like KCFN power challenges, things like power sustainability on West Vancouver Island or on Vancouver Island as a whole are not contained in that. And I know that these are stock letters that come back from ministry, and I just find it unfortunate that there's no commitments or movements on the actual asks that we have. I don't know the solution, but I'm just putting it out there. We all know that this is kind of what happens, and it just seems frustrating.
Fair enough, Director Chapman.
I just want to add to what Director Colburn said. And, you know, we trust staff in making sure our agendas are correct. And if there's something meaningful and something that needed board direction on, this would be part of the regular business, not correspondence. So I wouldn't, when I see something in correspondence, I don't take a lot of stock in that it's going to require a lot of action from the board other than just being for information. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Director Senate?
Yeah, just out of curiosity, because Hydro has a regulator, perhaps we're directing our attention to the wrong departments. Maybe we should be going to the BCUC and talking about our needs instead of talking to the province. And or copying them on all our presentations to the province and asking for consideration of service provision. Maybe follow up with a response. Thank you for your non-response. Now we're going to the BCUC.
All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Number 5, Director Mulwiney.
Move receipt of the internet connectivity correspondence from UBCM.
Second.
Discussion? Director Mulwiney.
Thank you, Chair. I was really heartened to see that higher levels of government are recognizing the need for more granular information on internet accessibility. And I do have a subsequent, and that is because I did chat with the CAO, and he said that it would be helpful to have a board direction to provide this information that is being requested by the BC Ministry of Citizen Services.
Still on receipt. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried.
And I have a subsequent, Chair.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I'd like to move that the SRD submit a comment to the CRTC regarding the BC Ministry of Citizen Services application for more granular sharing in support of advancing connectivity projects for rural and remote areas.
Second.
Director Colburn, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Director's report, none. New business, none. Amendment items. Director Synod had something under new business?
Well, I don't have the resolution. Was this with respect to the service I suggested, or?
No, the lighting at Strathcona Gardens?
Oh, correct. Okay. Do we want to do it as a receipt of the letter, or just and I don't have a proposed motion. Do we have anything that we want to do? So a letter came to me at the City of Campbell River respecting the lighting challenges at the Strathcona Gardens parking lot now with the reallocation of the parking areas and such. And so do I need to ask for staff to come back and give us a report, or report back to the gardens, I would think?
Yeah, I think a report to the commission.
Okay, so I'll make it just a motion that in light of the receipt of a public complaint that there's difficulties with the lighting in the parking area, that we refer it back to the commission to receive a report from staff after their investigation of the complaint.
Second. Thank you. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. Closed session. Would the report from the CAO be received?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Director Colburn. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion is carried. And that the meeting be closed to the public to consider matters deemed to fall within the parameters of subsections 90-1A, C, F, G, I, N, and O of the Community Charter.
So moved.
Thank you. Director Merwini got there first. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion's carried. Okay,